So they're taking alcohol to add more what? To expand the market. There's no gas station. There's a mini market. Yeah, that's being expanded, but it's because there's actually a mini market. That's yeah, we know. Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy to like edit a letter to basically.
I think Bill got copies.
You did. Hello, good evening and welcome back. We're going to get started for our Oxnard City Council for Tuesday, September 2nd, 2025. Madam Clerk, may we have the roll call and posting of the agenda, please?
Mayor MacArthur,
Yes.
Councilmember Perallo. Yes. Councilwoman Rodriguez,
Present.
Councilmember Starr,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Teran.
Here.
The agenda for this meeting was posted in the kiosk at City Hall, the Oxnard Public Library, the city administrative offices, and on the city's website on Thursday, August 21st. Thank you.
Thank you. If I can have everyone stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. We're going to take also a moment of silence for a lot of the deaths that we've seen in our country and across the world. In here within our city, we recently lost Johanna Carter. She was a longtime 30-plus year employee of the Oxnard Police Department, a dispatcher. And also we lost Leo Alvarez, also with the Oxnard Police Department for 30-plus years, who recently passed away as well. And he was the supervising booking officer for many years. Just repeat after me. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. We'll go to the first item on the agenda. This is for public comments on items not on the agenda and also for non-action items. Thank you, Madam Clerk. How many speakers do we have? We don't have too many. We have 4. And I don't think we may have a couple here online. We'll start with our first speaker. This is Sarah. And Sarah, you'll be followed by Mr. Stein.
Good evening, Mayor MacArthur, City Council, City staff. My name is Sarah Wilczewski, and I am here as part of the 805 Immigrant Rapid Response Network and 805 and DocuFund. I want to start by thanking you. Thank you for quickly convening a special meeting and joining in support of the ACLU lawsuit Perdomo v. Nome. Thank you for quickly addressing the situation at Wagon Wheel and the ICE detention outside of Oxnard PD last week. It's situations like those that erode public trust in law enforcement. Swift, decisive, and measurable action helps to rebuild that trust. Nearly 75% of Oxnard's population identifies as Hispanic or Latino. This community is deeply tied into the city's, neighborhoods, schools, and economy. They are the backbone of Oxnard's agricultural and service sectors. The majority of those apprehended at the Glass House raid on July 10th are Oxnard residents. Many community members are still traumatized, and several of those apprehended are still unable to get legal representation almost 2 months later. We ask you to take action for justice, equality, and the safety of your constituents. We ask for $1 million to support legal, humanitarian aid, and family reunification and assistance. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Mr. Stein? And Mr. Stein, you'll be followed by Arthur Valenzuela Jr.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of City Council, and members at large. My leg isn't as good as it used to be, so I can't jump out of bushes anymore. I apologize for that. One of the concerns I have is the elevator at the parking structure at the north elevator. This is September of 2025. I first started reporting on this elevator in July of 2024. The elevator still is not working. Maybe we need some labor work on this. On another note, I'd like to point out to you that this is September 2025. Our city manager has been city manager for 9 years now. I don't know when we're going to have a party for him. I'd be the first to go there. Thank you. Another concern I have is how we spend our money. Certain organizations seem to have a high priority than other organizations. I've asked to have our water built. I've asked for our funding for the urban water master plan. City Council still has not provided the funding for the urban water master plan. Now, I'm sure certain privileged organizations ask for money, they get the money. For example, I'm sure if the PAL asked for horses and stables to provide polo for disadvantaged youth of Oxnard, the city would be able to find the money for PAL and the horses. But far be it from the city being able to buy the funding for the pool that people have asked for decades. Far be it from me to have the city council find funding to have lifeguard stations. We have 10 miles of beach. We don't have a lifeguard station. A lifeguard station helps promote activities, and we have a lot of people who don't know how to swim. We don't have a summer program to teach people how to swim. The city manager promised us a pool 4 years ago. When the city council says, yes, we're going to have a pool, we're going to have a pool in a year and a half. And 6 months later, the city manager said, oh, I'm sorry, we don't have the money now. But we did spend $5 million in consulting fees so the pool could be built. So perhaps there better be a better analysis on use of funds. In that direction, I suggest we do analysis on the people who are budgeted for positions but don't get hired. We have this analysis that could be done on head counts, something I proposed many times, and perhaps the city treasurer could be appointed, or you could direct the city treasurer to do a head count analysis for a fee, so you can see how much money is being spent or being allocated but not spent. We have budgets. We allocate money for budgets, and they're not filled. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stein. Arthur? And then Arthur, you'll be followed by Susana, and then Eduardo.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, and city staff. I'm coming here to raise awareness about a local policy proposal that was recently passed by the City of LA by council members Tim McCosker and Hugo Soto Martinez at the most recent Tuesday, August 26th council meeting, item number 250732 from Council District 15. To quote the Cal News, the LA City Council mandated that the Port Police to document and collect data on federal immigration enforcement activity in the harbor area, and through that ensure accountability and protect the rights of the residents and workers regardless of their immigration status. The documentation of ICE would ultimately be used with the goal of being submitted in court as proof of raids and violations of people's rights if ever necessary. To continue on this road, to quote Police Chief Benitez from the July 30th podcast that he submitted, that was put uploaded on July 30th, the Oxnard Police Department cannot interfere with federal activities. That statement is true. However, he also states that the OPD will communicate with both parties, the ICE agents and the community volunteers, to assess the situation. I'm asking that Oxnard can move forward with a similar policy that was recently passed in LA to start identifying and keeping track of these ICE agents in the city of Oxnard if we ever move forward with any other litigation. This could help rebuild trust between the city and its residents if done properly. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, Arthur.
Good evening, council and the public. My name is Susana Canales Barron. I am a volunteer organizer with 805 Immigrant Coalition. And I'm here, and a few of the other volunteers are here, but a few weeks ago, we actually submitted a collective letter. If I remember correctly, there were over 300 signatures on that letter. There are so many that we actually wouldn't fit here. Many of the people who signed are farm workers. They don't feel safe enough to come, but they felt safe enough, and they had the courage to sign that letter. On that letter, there was a request to join the ACLU lawsuit, Perdomo versus Nome. And I just want to express my deep gratitude for you all voting yes to join that sincerely on behalf of myself and all of the people who signed that letter. Also on that letter and through public comment, we asked to agendize committing $1 million to help with the defense fund for immigrants who've been impacted by ICE and to help with other needs. And I ask you from the bottom of my heart to please agendize that item because we saw what happened with the Board of Supervisors meeting. It was not good, and our community does not have the support that is so needed. Yesterday, just recently, District Attorney Nazarenko mentioned that there has been more than 40% decline in activated cases within his department. And that means that less people are accessing care. And he did say it is likely due to immigration enforcement tactics that are happening right now. That is huge. And that is not this is not just impacting immigrant communities. This is it's impacting everyone. If there is a witness who is too afraid to come forward because of their immigration status, this hurts us all. And so this is not a charity. It is an investment. Our community has given back so much. My own mother, my own father, they were both undocumented, and I'm here now giving back to my community. I had a rough time. I dropped out of high school, but made it to Stanford with hard work. And I will use each minute that I have to fight for my community, and I hope you do the same too. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Susana. Thank you. Eduardo Huerta. And Eduardo, you'll be followed by Odette Moran.
Hey guys, how are you guys? Miss you guys at the Southwinds Park. Was the California Labor Council picnic? I think it would have been nice to have you, Officer MacArthur. I think I asked Senator Monique Limon that. Where were you at? You were missing in action. Only because you're the one that got great support from the Latino community when you ran for mayor. Fortunately, it would have been nice for you to see there just to take some responsibility because, when I first ran for office against Gabe, you have good friends with all the nonprofits, Salvation Army. Obviously, I think the director for Casa del Carmen, she's actually living in my home. That's how do you say that's how God works in mysterious ways, right? Because I fought really hard for homeless funding, and obviously because of Joanne and the incident, right? I took care of her nephew and harbored him, and from there I ran for homelessness and created a good agenda. At the end, I'm here for the migrant community as well. I guess police tactics, right? I guess today there's a feud between the governor and Trump, saying that they used police enforcement to, I guess, oppress their opponents. So, I think that's something that me and Gabe can talk about, right? Because, that's something I think Trump is kind of retaliating against our migrant community because he kind of paid attention how you guys ran city politics here locally. And so I think, you know, the way you guys treated certain opponents, I think he paid attention to that. And so you guys are caught really in the middle of a feud because of what happened at Glass House, and nobody's taking responsibility because of Lucy Cartagena. You guys, I mean, I ran this campaign, so I know what's going on here. You know, your relationship with Lucy Cartagena when I first landed, and then with Richard Linares, you guys are all friends. You guys were doing veterans events at the park, you guys act like you guys don't know what I'm talking about. But at the end, the marijuana industry, that's why I would think Trump went after the Glass House. So, you know, I did, you know, and so, you know, who's the one suffering? You know, I didn't see any of you guys at the Supervisors Council meeting for item 43. And I think if you guys would have all shown up, all of you guys, we would have saved a lot of humanitarian aid for our nation. Because I did good work. You know, like I said, I took the step back to kind of, you know, public safety is priority, I think, for all of us, right? I think Aaron Starr as well, you know, the personal history behind that. So, you know, I stood strong for a lot of you guys. And so, Gabe, I think you owe our migrant community an apology. Only because I think that you know that the repercussion of some of your actions, they're suffering. You know, and I swear to God that I'm not lying and I'm not defaming your character. You know, I went to events and you called law enforcement. I went to many events. You played a little dirty yourself. It has nothing to do with parties, but I'm just saying, you know, they pay attention to that. You know, you guys know my history, how I'm neutral, so you guys really got to take some responsibility here. Plus, I ran a campaign. Was it the NPR campaign, or like, you know, I know a lot about what's going on here. So at the end, you know, you guys really, really got to take some responsibility for our migrant community because it sucks. A lot of these people are asking for funding, and I don't think funding is going to go out. I don't think nothing's going to go out. So, you know, broken promises, guys. So, you know, either you work with the governor and figure out how you're going to get funding for these nonprofits.
Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Odette? Madam Clerk, are there any public speakers online? Okay.
Hi, good afternoon, Oxford City Council and staff. I'm here to support 805 Ondaku Fund volunteers and their ask to please agendize to have a conversation at the city level about these legal funds. Thank you for the work that you have done so far. We've seen a few of you in different spaces in your personal time and want to recognize and thank you for taking that time to do that, and really want to hear that the people of Oxnard, as you know, have been impacted in such a deep way that there's more that our city residents wish to see, and just here to ask and to support, to please agendize a conversation and to make sure that it's publicly known, for folks to share their voice as part of this process. This wound is deep. And so thank you for your time and looking forward to seeing that in the city agenda in time to come. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to our first online speaker.
Virtual speaker ending in 1622. You have 3 minutes starting now.
Hi, Larry Barberine. Wanted to first say I'm happy VGA Day, 80 years, victory of Japan at the end World War II, and want to thank the families of the fallen, the veterans and their families from World War II, and we know we have several who passed from our city on one of those pyramids at Plaza Park. So we are grateful for all of you for ending tyranny from Germany and Japan and Italy. And we would never had the freedom of all the freedoms we have: freedom of speech, freedom of religion, peaceably to assemble, and all the balance of power, checks and balances that we have without the veterans there and the leadership that we had back then. I hope that people remember that, because this is the formal surrender day, 80 years on the USS Missouri. And to know that there's been a lot of criticism more recently about the atomic bombs that President Truman ordered. But just remember that the Japanese were not even surrendering after the firebombing, which would have killed more people if that had kept going than the bombs did. They wouldn't surrender after the first atomic bomb. So unfortunately, it had to be done to it actually killed fewer lives than it would have the firebombing and if we had tried to attack Japan. So I want to thank the veterans for that. Thank God. I want to thank Councilman Perillo. Someone said a couple speakers ago that there was a unanimous vote, but that vote that was a while back in closed session, Councilman Perillo, I believe, voted against the joining the lawsuit. If that is indeed the case, if I read that right, I do support and thank him for that vote. We do need to stand up for the rule of law. Obviously, there can be priority in how we enforce these things. And even President Trump's talked about lessening the enforcement for farm workers, hotel workers, all that, to focus on those who are most recently illegal, coming in illegally over the last few years, that fiasco, and also those who are in Trinidad, MS-13, committing crimes here after the federal misdemeanor of coming across illegally. I want to give say we're praying for the families of Ruben Pazuelos, former head of Nuestro, the band Nuestro, and Pastor Marjoco, two great Oxnarders
Your time has
who passed
concluded.
away recently. So thank God for them.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for calling in. Over to the
Our next caller, our next caller, 100,000 a year. You have 3 minutes to speak, starting now.
Hello, can you guys hear me? Yes. Okay, so yeah, so I do Instacart, so I'm just driving all over Oxnard, Ventura, Camarillo, and one of the things I noticed is that in Camarillo and Ventura, I see that they're just always cleaning their freeways, always cleaning their exits, and I just feel like in Oxnard, not too much attention is being paid to that. And another issue I see is that downtown Oxnard just needs to have more love and appreciation shown to it because it is downtown Oxnard. So I just feel like more can be done to keep it clean, keep it nice, revamp the buildings. Another issue I see is that when I pick up my niece from Pacifica High School, just the dress code from when I was in high school in 2009, what people are wearing nowadays would not be accepted. It's just ridiculous. When I pick up my niece, just the dress code now that I see, I just feel like it's just not being as strict as it was back then. So the standard needs to be raised. Keeping the city clean, keeping the exits clean in Oxnard. So whenever, like I said, when I'm in Ventura and Camarillo, they're always cleaning the freeways, the exits, but in Oxnard, I just feel like not enough attention is being paid to that. Another issue would be the fluoride in the water. There's been a few cities where the fluoride has been removed, and I just feel like Oxnard needs to do the same. I mean, they say the fluoride is for dental health, but it's just ridiculous. If you were really concerned about the dental health, you would take care of maybe not as much candy. That sounds absurd, but I just feel like fluoride is just ridiculous to keep putting in our waters. It's just not necessary. Also, another thing I feel like needs to be taken care of would be just the cleanliness of Oxnard. Keeping it clean, keeping it nice, because it's a beautiful city. But one thing I do appreciate is just the new signs, welcome to Oxnard, City of Oxnard. I do appreciate that. And I thank that because it is necessary. And that's all I have to say. So thank you so much for your time and I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for calling, for your comments.
Mayor and council members, that actually concludes our public speakers on items not on the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. There were a number of written comments that were submitted, and so they've been included for the record as well. We'll go to item D. This is a report from our city manager. Mr. Wynn, welcome.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I have one quick announcement, and then our fire chief has a much more important announcement to make. So Diego, if you can bring up this, okay. By the way, the clicker to advance the slides decided not to come back from August. So we're going to be giving audio cues to the booth. Diego back there. So this is actually from the county's Public Works Department, but it is important work that they are doing in our city, which will require them to have a temporary road closure on North Ventura Road between Stone Creek Drive and Wagon Wheel Road. There'll be appropriate signage for detours. This is a slight extended time. It begins on September 8th. And will go through to expected October 17th. So will be a minor inconvenience, but in exchange, they are doing very important work in building up the levee there to protect our neighborhoods in the event of major flooding. So I understand, again, it is a routine inconvenience for people who traverse that road daily, but please keep the big picture in mind. There's been a lot in the news lately about the anniversary of Katrina, and just remember, when that happened, everyone, all it was, why didn't you do anything? Well, the county's doing this with our support, by the way, our financial support, at I want to say encouragement, but it was more like the pressure from our council members, Perello, and our Mayor Pro Tem, Tehran. So they're doing this work. Now, if you want more detailed information, they have the QR code. This is on our website and theirs, the so-called quick response code for people who know how to use those. If you don't, and you still have a phone, you can call the county for more information. Their phone number is 805-654-2007. 2007. Okay, so with that, again, this information is available online. They'll have a lot of signage out there. And we do, in advance, continue to thank the county's Public Works Department for doing this very, very, very important work to protect the broader community. And with that, I'm going to ask the fire chief to come to the podium. And Diego, if you can advance to the next slide.
And I think, Council, actually, Mayor Pro Tem has a comment to make.
Yes.
Just real quickly, this helps me, so I imagine it might help others. But September 8th is the stated date of the beginning of the closure. That's next Monday, just so everybody knows. So we're not caught by surprise. That is a week from yesterday. That is when this will begin. So anyways,
Thank
you. That's it.
Thank you. Chief?
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, members of council, Alex Hamilton, Fire Chief. I wanted to just take a minute to recognise September as Suicide Prevention Month. This has been something of a passion of mine, a passion I share with Mayor Pro Tem Tehran. We've been in some of the same trainings together over the years. And so if we go to the next slide, please, Diego. So first thing I really wanted to highlight is those phone numbers there for folks that maybe have a family member that's in crisis or they're in crisis themselves. There's the phone numbers that you can call or text. You can actually also text the 988 number as well as the text line that's there. Next slide, please. One thing I just wanted to touch on is, and this is not a Second Amendment speech by any means, but we have a uniquely American problem in suicide by firearm. Access to lethal means is incredibly dangerous when somebody is at risk or is thinking about suicide. If we can go to the next slide. So here's some of the ways that we can help prevent the tragedies of suicide by firearm. But you can see there, ensuring that firearms are stored unloaded with the ammunition and the firearms separate, locking and storing those things separately, and removing firearms from the house if needed, if somebody is in emotional crisis. These are just some of the ways that we can help folks get through a mental health crisis, or an emotional crisis, I should say. And then I think there's one more slide. Diego. Thank you. So I just wanted to put a couple of resources up there for folks who may be interested, but you can see there's a couple of resources there from the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. So how you can help somebody at risk who might be at risk of suicide, but also the second one there is for parents who may need to talk to their teens about it. I can tell you that I've been in the business of suicide intervention for 12 years now, and it's a very different conversation when you're having it with your kids versus having it with friends or co-workers. So that's a really fantastic resource if parents need it. And last, if you have suffered the tragedy of losing somebody to suicide, there is a support group that meets the first and third Wednesdays of the month in Camarillo. So that's a local support group that's free to attend. So I just wanted to pass on those resources and highlight Suicide Prevention Month. I really appreciate the time this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that it, Alex? Okay. Thank you. Yes, go ahead. Absolutely.
Thank you. Not to get into extended discussion on this, but I'm wondering if I can ask a very quick question on this. Maybe our police chief might help, but regarding the slide about firearms, if somebody wishes to surrender, even temporarily, a firearm just to not have it in their possession, or gives it to a person to surrender voluntarily, is that something that local agencies are able to facilitate?
The short answer to that is yes.
Great. Thank you.
That was
Thank
a
you,
very
Mayor.
short answer, yes.
Yes.
Wonderful. We'll move on now to item E. This is for City Council to provide any reports, anything we've been involved with this month. We'll usually start with Councilwoman Perez, but since she's not here, we will move to Councilmember Perrell.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I appreciate all the public speakers that are here and those that spoke on the phone, called in. I'd like to address a couple of things that were, comments that were made. I attended both of the supervisor meetings where Ms. Lopez had her issue and brought it forward. I spoke at one of them. I attended the Southwinds Park event yesterday and donated to help that go off. I want to thank the Tri-County Labor Organization for putting it on and for locating it in the Southwinds Park. As a person that was physically there and I saw people that I have never seen come to a Tri-County Labor's event when it was at Campus Park, and they walked away with trays of food, no more than anyone else was entitled to, but it was obvious in my eyes, that they most likely were not involved with organized labor, but they benefited from the purpose that organized labor put the event in the Southwinds Park. That felt good to me. It was a tremendous, in my opinion, successful event. There was a comment made about the, and this has bothered me because I don't like to give credit where it's not due. But there's been a comment made about signage. And I'd just like to share with the public's here and the public that's at the podium, the council members now. Those signs were approved and brought forward by former Mayor John Zaragoza. It doesn't happen overnight. Former Councilman McDonald, former Councilman Oscar Madrigal, current Council Member Basua, and current Councilman Turan and myself approved that. This is something that took a while. So I want to make sure that the people that actually did the heavy lifting, the footwork, and put their necks out there get some of the credit. The questions with regard to the SCR1 levy, it's extremely important. Right now it's not raining, it's hot, but if you're listening to the news, and I know the people that are here, for the most part, they're not ignorant. And that means, in my mind, dumb. That means you don't pay attention to the news. You guys are paying attention to the news. And whatever part of the world you're looking at, there's either droughts or floods. We live next to a river. That levee is built and being repaired and improved because 6,000 homes in the north end of Oxnard were going into a flood zone. That's a lot of homes, well more than 6,000 people. It's taken over 10 years to get where it is now. There's still going to be an issue with SCR1 on the north of the river, protecting River Park. That's yet to come forward. The city has put well over $1 million into that project, but the city manager is correct, it's a county project. Hopefully there will be some presentation by the county showing you possibly an aerial drone, exactly what's going on. And I can tell you I live in the South Bank neighborhood, adjacent to that, very close to Stone Creek. And the residents in that neighborhood have received letters informing them of the delay in the traffic. There's signage and things there. But to give you, and Mayor, I may extend my 3 minutes, please.
Absolutely.
To give you a touch, some of the people in that neighborhood whose homes will be protected are complaining that there's going to be, you know, they have to maybe take a different route. It's just something called human nature. The comments that were made with respect to lifeguards and the amount of footage, the amount of distance that the city of Oxnard has in beach. There's a very limited amount of beach that is actually in the city of Oxnard. The oceanfront property adjacent to the city of Oxnard is county. An extremely small amount. I don't have the footage and I wasn't planning to bring this up until a member spoke. It's an extremely small amount of footage from 5th Street to, I believe, where the hotel is. It's not very far. And the other part without lifeguards, Ventura County would be someone that I would suggest talking to, because the city of Oxnard in the past has attempted to work with people and the outcome has not been successful to get county lifeguards to come and take care of the limited time when these beaches are heavily used. As far as the swimming pool, if we didn't have bond litigation going on, we would be possibly in the construction of a swimming pool. We've already spent money on that, but there's litigation currently going on, brought by an organization and one council member that has prevented that from going forward. The issue with respect to the speaker that said that I voted no, he was 100% correct. I voted no on the ACLU item. I'm a lifelong member of the ACLU, but I also am well aware the city of Oxnard has housing. You'll notice if you look at the agenda, it's where here is the City Council, the Oxnard Community Development Commission, Successor Agency, the Financing Authority, and the Oxnard Housing Authority. That housing authority has 5,300 housing units, 5,300 housing units, funded for the most part by federal money through HUD, Housing and Urban Development. With the current leadership at the national level, the president, and the way he has been, in my opinion, very fickle on what he's doing, he could pull that money. And if he did, we don't have the money to take care of those 5,300 homes that hold many more than 5,300 people. That is why I voted no, because I personally do not have a spot for 5,300 people when their next stop would be the street. That is why I voted no. I'm not ashamed of that vote. The last thing, there's been discussion about working with the schools and things. I'm hoping that the city attorney or the city manager can assist us as a council without this having to go through committees. During this last month, I've gotten multiple people from the city of Oxnard residents, some from outside the city of Oxnard. Why aren't we helping the school districts? Why aren't we giving the school districts? Why aren't we doing this? There needs to be something, I would call it 101 government funding. What belongs to what and who is responsible for what and who gets to decide where what goes. The government of the city of Oxnard has their funds, and the school districts, whether it's grammar school, high school, junior college districts, have their own funds. Each of these government organizations has an elected body, and those people are responsible for how those funds are used. To my knowledge, none of the school districts are offering to give the city of Oxnard money so we can run our operation. But a lot of people are asking me as a council member to give the school districts lots of money that we don't have. Mayor, thank you very much for
Absolutely.
giving me the time.
Absolutely. Thank you, Councilmember.
And in that, Mayor, just a little, government 101, just a short 5-minute, explain how that works on an agenda. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Yeah, Mayor Pro Tem, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Excuse me. Well, during the legislative recess, during the month of August, felt busier than ever, which is great because I had more time because wasn't reviewing agendas and getting ready for the Tuesday meetings. So I was able to fill those in. Just on the neighborhood council side, attended the Carriage Square Neighborhood Council, and that was their new board's first meeting, and they had a lot of really great discussion. They actually had a short study session on what are their priorities as a neighborhood and things that they really want to focus on to affect positive change, and I appreciated that exercise that they were able to do. I also attended the East Village Neighborhood Council, and they had Supervisor Kelly Long come in as a speaker to talk a little bit about what the county's role is as it pertains to that neighborhood and then the larger county structure, as well as in the 3rd district that she represents, just talking a little bit about what they do. Cursory overview. I also want to say thank you to the Channel Islands Neighborhood Council for an in-person overview of the Channel Islands neighborhood and the adjoining neighborhoods or adjacent neighborhoods, and also their focus on water quality within the harbor and the testing efforts that they have been having underway for some time now, and just giving me a heads up on what we can see on a future agenda as it pertains to next steps within the water quality testing and addressing that. I also attended the Central Coast Labor Council's community barbecue on Sunday, and I very much appreciated all of the work that went into that. And I had signed up I clicked the box, I'll do whatever you need me to do as a volunteer. And, I was there for the time I was and doing different things, but got to talk to a lot of people. But it was incredibly enlightening to see how many community members came out to receive the different offerings that were there for them. And I spoke with a representative from the Port of Hueneme, and they brought 1,000 bags of produce and other items. Within the first hour, almost half of those were gone. And I have no doubt they were all gone, because by the time I went back over there, the truck was all closed up and everything by the time I made my way back to that part of the park. So thousands of people likely came through and got food, got needs, and they had some great speakers and some entertainment, community-based entertainment. So thank you to everybody who helped put that together. Also in the month of August and partly in the month of July, I actually took it upon myself to go to every city council in the county of Ventura, with the exception of the city of Hueneme, including the Board of Supervisors, though, to talk to them about our nitrous oxide ordinance that we had passed. And just wanted to have them understand the ordinance, why we were putting it in place, why it was put in place after that vote, and just wanted to have a heads up because it was a concern of mine that the market may migrate to neighboring jurisdictions that have little or no regulation for the nitrous oxide canisters. So hoping that those cities and the county will take a look at that, and if they wish to pursue it, they can reach out to our staff, and I open myself up to discussions as well. So appreciate that. Lastly, I also spoke at the Board of Supervisors meeting for Supervisor Lopez's agendized item on supporting our immigrant community. And I will say, frankly, I'm disappointed by the outcome. I know it was an incredibly high bar with a 4/5 vote. And folks may feel that we've been saying here in the city of Oxnard, well, we're working on it, we're looking into it, things are happening. That has absolutely been happening, but keep in mind at the same time, knowing that the other cities and the county was looking at what they would be doing, my hope was, in a perfect world, a very collaborative effort amongst all the jurisdictions within the county of Ventura. Obviously, the county would be a natural leader for that. Unfortunately, that is not the scenario we're in now, and I don't know what the other cities are going to do, but as our own city, as one council member up here, I feel that it is certainly our responsibility to do what we need to do to care for those who are within our city and our jurisdictions, and especially our most vulnerable. And so I anticipate our city manager will have an update for us soon. Know that plans have been in place, or ideas and processes are looked at. And if the county had done this, all right, here's our next steps. If the county doesn't do it, all right, here's our next steps. And that's where we are now. So I'll look forward to that. And lastly, thank you, Councilmember Perello, for mentioning the ACLU. I hope it's not lost on folks. I appreciate people recognizing that the city had done that. But it's my opinion here. I feel that us joining that lawsuit, there was certainly the risk that we could lose federal funding or other actions could happen against us. I personally believe, again, this is my opinion, that that has already happened, that retaliation has happened, that just the taking of an individual here in front of the police station in our downtown, that was an interesting thing when bus stops were specifically mentioned in that litigation. And so to me, again, my opinion, I feel like that might have been an intentional part on somebody's agenda. But you know what? That's going to have me dig in even more. We have to protect people. And if they're going to be petty about it, well, let's play petty then. All right? So those are my comments, Mayor. Appreciate the extra time for that as well.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Councilmember Starr.
I'll keep mine relatively short. So I attended the National Night Out events on August 5th at several locations in the district, my district. There's La Colonia, Rose Park, and East Village. I really feel like it's a wonderful time for people to get together and interact with each other in a way that they may not normally do. So I think that that's a great event. I hope that more neighborhood councils in the city continue this. I know for East Village, it was their first time. I thought it was a good success. I spoke at the recent East Village Neighborhood Council meeting, and where Kelly Long was also speaking. In the upcoming week or two, I'll be touring the Port of Wainimi on September 16th to get a better understanding of the port and how it's working and how we can better collaborate as a city, since it's a major driver of jobs in this city. And lastly, I'll be attending the Rio Lindo Neighborhood Council meeting on September 18th. And that's all I have today, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilwoman?
Yes. Yes, I also attended the neighborhood National Night Out for both Wilson Park and Carriage Square. There were wonderful celebrations. It was very reinvigorating to see everybody come together and participate in what they thought was a potluck, and just full of cheer and merry, and it was great over the summer. I also spoke in support of the resolution proposed by Supervisor Vianney Lopez, and we'll have to keep trying to see how we can protect the community without putting us in harm's way. So we'll do what we can, and just know that all of us on the dais have stated our support for helping support the most marginalized community, and that doesn't go in vain. I also wanted to share, since September's National Suicide Prevention, that on September 20th, Saturday, September 20th, the Suicide Prevention Walk happens, and it's happening at Promenade Park in Ventura from 9 to 12. So I know that In the past, some groups that I've been involved with, we volunteered with registration there, but it's a free walk and it creates awareness, it builds community. I highly recommend it for folks to go check it out. So it's Out of the Darkness Suicide Prevention Walk happening. It used to be in Camarillo, it's in Ventura this year. And yeah, so I will be reactivating my office hours, and as soon as I have that flyer available to you all, then I'll start promoting when you all can come and meet with me one-on-one, or feel free to reach out. Last but not least, I want to share that I'm part of the Gold Coast Transit Center, and there is a lot on 3rd Street that I just became part of the ad hoc committee to explore the possibility if there is a future development there. It's owned by Gold Coast, which used to be the old bus yard. And I know that they've gone through a whole process. I spoke to Brian McDonald when he was transitioning out and I was coming in, about the different testing of the soil and just prepping that may have gotten us to this possible point. So I'm not promising anything. I'm just saying I'm part of an ad hoc committee to explore the possibilities of future development. So if folks have any ideas, either in favor or against, please come and talk to me, because I would love to hear the good, the bad, and the ugly. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilwoman. Seems like we've all been extremely busy during the month of August. I certainly have been. As you know, I'm a big ambassador for our city, always looking for opportunities to make this city that much more vibrant. So I'm paying attention to the gentleman that called up and said that our entries, our gateways into our city don't look like they should, because I'm big on beautifying our city, and our city is looking fantastic thanks to the work of our Public Works Department. So I'll be attentive to that to see if that's not a freeway issue versus a city issue. But nonetheless, I'll find a resolution for that. I too attended the National Night Out. That's a great opportunity for all of us to engage. I went to Rose Park, Colonia, and over to the beach, to Oxnard Shores. I took the opportunity when I saw there was a boxing event in Santa Monica, at the Santa Monica Pier, so I connected with the mayor there. And then started a conversation to see, this morning I met with staff from Santa Monica to see if we could maybe do a joint Battle of the Badges between us and Santa Monica, to just to bring a good positive event here for the city, maybe provide some funds to a charity of our choosing. Also was excited to meet with the gentleman came in from Germany. We are furthering the corals that's going to be put in where the old Fisherman's Wharf is. Again, that's going to bring a lot of economy and just vibrancy to our city, to add what's already happening with our city here. And I'm always looking for opportunity to meet with somebody. I see Lieutenant David Avila's here from the Armory. He's not new here to this area, and I know his wife is from Oxnard, but take the opportunity to meet him and see the great work that the Salvation Army is doing. And so I invited him to I'm doing bi-weekly meetings, joined by our police chief, Jason Benitez, and also our city manager, showcasing our commitment working with the nonprofits and other key leaders in our city to directly attack what is going on with ICE and their activity here in our region, and looking for solutions. We were all banking on a positive outcome with Supervisor Lopez. Eduardo, I was there both times. I think many of us were there. I was there both times. I spoke. I think Mayor Pro Tem opened up that discussion the first time, and I closed it, speaking directly on item 43, supporting it. So showcasing our commitment as a city and as it's elected. So now we've got to think about Plan B, what that's going to look like. We've already taken the lead in this region to join the ACLU lawsuit and others. So now we're going to go to step B to see how we can further support our immigrant community. And the chief and I think the chief has been excellent in voicing and dispelling the notion that we're collaborating with ICE, because our job is to protect everyone that's within our jurisdiction, and we're committed to that effort. I also have been part of the Interfaith Council, meeting directly with those key leaders that the chief assembled for that. Received an invitation and spoke at Mass at Guadalupe Church. Again, taking that opportunity to speak directly to the most vulnerable and disenfranchised in our community, and not giving lip service, but talking about what we are doing here in our city to combat what is happening, and to again dispel what is not happening as well. and to show our commitment, and also to invite some input as to what they would like to see from us as leaders, things that potentially we haven't considered. So we're always open to those discussions. And lastly, just been heavily involved in bringing a lot of activities here. I went to the Ceviche Festival this weekend in Ventura, and probably 95% of the folks that were there are from Oxnard. So I spoke with the promoter to see we can bring it to Oxnard, to bring more festivities here to our city. And now just working with Fiestas Patrias. Fiestas Patrias is coming up here in a couple of weeks. So working with those organizers, working with our executive leadership team to make that a very successful event celebrating Mexican independence. So I'm going to be heavily involved with that as well. And there's a lot more that I actually don't have the time to talk about here, but nonetheless, I think you all see that many of us here are working extremely, extremely hard to try to do what is best for our city, to showcase what, how beautiful our city is, and everybody who's doing great work to just make it that much more enjoyable and enhance the quality of life for everyone who lives and works in this city. So thank you very much. Yes, go ahead, Mayor.
I got off track. I forgot to mention, I did go to National Night Out at Cabrillo, Oxnard Shores, Carriage Square, and Seaview neighborhood, well attended by those. But also, Mayor, you mentioned the gentleman from Carl's. I did happen to attend the Channel Islands Neighborhood Council meeting. He made a presentation. But one of our staff members, Anthony Miller, did a hell of a job, made a tremendous presentation. I wanted to give him a shout out. Thank you, Mayor.
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. Go ahead.
Thank you. And also National Night Out, forgot that was beginning of August, but thank you, council members, for reminding of that too. Went to 4 neighborhoods, just like all of you did multiple trips. But I just want to take an extra second here and thank you, Mayor, just to thank Chief Hamilton again for bringing up the Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month for the month of September. It's an incredibly difficult subject, and but it's an important one. And I want to remind folks that if you yourself are having thoughts of suicide or you're worried about someone who is, the 988 number, as was mentioned, is a 24/7 available line. You can call it, you can text it from any landline, any cell phone. Somebody will answer and somebody will listen. So if you're having thoughts, know there are people out there willing to help. So thank you again, Chief.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for that. One last one thing I left out is, we've got Georgia Southern University practicing here at our River Ridge Fields. Again, it's just showcasing what a beautiful city we have. So I had the opportunity to drive out there this afternoon to just meet with the administrative staff of Georgia Southern University that's out there practicing at our River Ridge Fields. Okay, so no one else has anything further. We'll move on on our agenda. We'll go from, this is from our city attorney. And this is thank you. This is the adoption of resolution supporting polluters pay climate Superfund Act. The recommendation is that the city council adopt a resolution supporting the polluters pay climate Superfund Act. And this is from the city attorney's office. Do you want to start off, Mayor Pro Tem, with what we have from Councilman Perez? Yes. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. Before I do that, is there any introductory comments from staff on this before we go to Councilman Perez's statement?
Well, if the council wants more of a background on it, Deputy City Attorney Mira Soleil is here to explain everything that she researched in response to Councilwoman Perez's request that this be placed on your agenda.
Okay, thank you. I'll go ahead. I'll go into this statement then, and I'll turn it back to the mayor for questions and then comments and discussion. Okay, for those who have not noticed, Councilwoman Perez is unable to be here this evening due to extenuating circumstances. So she has provided this letter for the public and to be read into the record. So letter of support for resolution, Polluters Pay Climate Superfund Act, SB 684 and AB 1243. Dear Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, City Clerk, and City Council members, As the elected council member for District 6, I am proud to introduce the resolution in support of Senate Bill 684 and Assembly Bill 1243, the Polluters Pay Climate Superfund Act of 2025. Although I am unable to attend today's meeting due to extenuating circumstances, I want to affirm my full support with our community members who spoke in favor of this resolution tonight. Oxnard has long faced environmental injustice. Working class families, especially in communities of color, have borne the health and financial costs of pollution from large fossil fuel companies, putting their homes, safety, and well-being at risk. This resolution and the state bills it supports represent a common sense step toward accountability and fairness. Local taxpayers have dealt with climate-related costs through higher insurance rates, utility bills, and taxes, while corporations that contributed to the problem avoided responsibility. By requiring largest polluters to pay into a climate superfund, these bills ensure the financial burden is shared fairly. Addressing common concerns, and this is a bulleted list. Gas prices. Economists confirm the act will have negligible effect on gasoline prices. Global oil markets set costs, and state oversight prevents price gouging. Jobs. Climate disasters threaten jobs. The act creates thousands of local jobs through clean energy, resilient infrastructure, and community programs. Legality. Modeled on California's Childhood Lead Poisoning Prevention Act and the federal Superfund law, courts have upheld that companies can be held accountable for harms caused by their products. Cap and trade. Cap and trade addresses future emissions, not past damages. The Superfund ensures polluters help remedy existing harm. Cost of inaction. Climate change threatens billions in damages annually. Acting now protects communities and saves money. Funds will strengthen infrastructure, improve public health, and protect communities against flooding, heat, and wildfires. At least 40% will go to disadvantaged communities, including 9 neighborhoods in Oxnard most impacted by pollution. Passing this resolution demonstrates that Oxnard prioritizes health, safety, and climate resilience over corporate profit. I hope the entire council will join me in passing this resolution unanimously. Sincerely, Michaela Perez, Oxnard City Council Member District 6. And that's the comment, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Would you mind just providing some background as to your research on this item?
Sure. So, hello, Mayor and Council. So, as mentioned, the Polluters Pay Climate Superfund Act is two different bills in the Assembly and in the Senate of California Legislature. They're companion bills that aim to hold the fossil fuel companies accountable through creating the Superfund program, which is administered by the California Environmental Protection Agency. And how it will work if it is passed. Within 3 months of passing, there will be some research done to find which 75 companies have emitted the most greenhouse emissions from 1990 to 2024. And it will require them to pay their share of damage that was caused. It's capped at $10 billion a year for 10 years. And that's the gist of the bills. Right now, there are 2 identical bills, like I mentioned. The SB 684 has been amended in the Senate in March 2025, earlier this year, and no hearing has been held yet for the Senate Appropriations Committee. So that author of that bill will need to make the request for that meeting before January 2026 in order for it to be heard in the 2-year legislative session. Otherwise, it will be reintroduced at the beginning of 2026. The other bill, the Assembly Bill 1243, missed the deadline to pass, so that one will not move forward. So that's where we're at with it now. Other cities, multiple cities, have passed similar resolutions in support, like Berkeley, Los Angeles, Port Hueneme, Richmond, San Diego, and the County of Santa Cruz. And the background information I have.
Thank you. I appreciate that background research. Thank you very much. Sure. We have several speakers on this item. Looks like we have a total of 17. We'll start with Melissa Munoz.
She had to
Nope, no problem. Okay. Then we'll move to Alex Montana. Oh, I'm sorry, apologies, Alex. And then Kristen, you'll follow Alex.
All right, thank you, Mayor, council members. So my name is Alex Mentanona, and I'm an environmental scientist. I grew up here in Oxnard, moved away to get an education, culminated with a PhD in chemistry. When I got that education, I learned a lot about environmental science, and it's, kind of simple. You take a bunch of carbon that's buried in the ground for thousands or millions of years, and you burn it, and you put it in the atmosphere. That's going to cause some warming, right? It's essentially like taking a blanket from underneath your bed that you use for storage, then putting it on top of yourself. And so what that does is that it leads to, as the Councilmember Perello mentioned earlier, it leads to droughts, it leads to flooding, it leads to climate disasters, things that we have to be prepared for. Now, we know, especially of recent history, how devastating these things can be. If you were just in Santa Monica, so you drove up the PCH, if you would have taken a left on Sunset and gone up about a mile or two, you would have seen the Palisades completely destroyed. And I know that from personal experience because I spent the majority of this year working on that disaster recovery. Now, those types of jobs require a lot of effort, and it takes personnel from all over the country as well as local jobs. So you have truckers that are coming out from Oxnard, from local companies. You have construction workers. You have environmental scientists like myself. You have biologists. You have HR representatives. You have, essentially anyone you can think of. It's a small army that comes out there. And that requires a lot of funding, and a lot of it comes from FEMA or insurance companies or, county or local governments. This bill essentially is a jobs bill. It helps deal with those climate disasters. It's a resiliency bill. So when we're working on levees to protect the northern part of Oxnard for the watershed, when we're working on, fire and drought resistance that's going to affect our agricultural sector, when we're working on mitigating sea level rise that's going to be affecting our harbors. This bill is going to help address that. And as the Councilwoman's comments mentioned, it's also going to help our very vulnerable communities. 9 out of 10 of them are going to be eligible for grants that are going to help, either re-beautify or help ecosystems in the area and turn our spaces a little bit more green so we can deal with some of the heat waves that we're going to be dealing with. So at the end of this, I just want to say thank you for your time, and I hope you support this bill. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Alex, for your technical insight. Thank you. Kristen? And Kristen, you'll be followed by Kathleen.
Hi, good evening. I would like to urge you to support the resolution in favor of this bill. As was stated, the funds generated from the bill will go to cities like Oxnard to help create green jobs and invest in climate resiliency projects. As also was stated, some opponents of the bill might argue that oil companies will pass on costs to consumers. Well, the price of oil is set by global markets, not by local oil companies. Fossil fuel companies cannot raise prices on non-operational costs. The Superfund fees will be assigned only to the top multinational companies, not to local oil companies or gas stations. I will conclude by adding that Chevron Corporation made $31 billion in profits last year. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Kristen. Kathleen? And Kathleen will be followed by Molly McCoy.
Good evening. There are many reasons to pass a resolution in support of this bill. Here are the top 5, perhaps. 1, it makes economic sense. This is a revenue as well as an environmental bill. At the exact time when the costs of climate change are climbing, the cuts to programs and services are straining budgets and your taxpayer constituents. 2, it's fair. Currently, the oil and gas industry accepts no responsibility at all for their role in climate chaos. They pay nothing towards the costs of property damage, infrastructure repair, disaster response, insurance, damages to public health. With this bill, they will pay less than 1% of their trillions in profits, and they can pay over 20 years if they choose. 3, as you've heard already, I won't repeat it, their arguments for opposing the bill really ring hollow. They argue that they shouldn't have to pay retroactively when they were acting legally. Yet they knew for decades that their products caused harm, and rather than acknowledge that truth and work towards solutions, they have spent millions to block common sense measures toward a necessary clean energy future for our children. The fact that they oppose paying anything at all for their part in the transition or in the situation that we're in speaks for itself. 4, it's false to say that it will raise gas prices. That's the part I'm not going to repeat. 5, and this is probably the most important, the state needs your backing. State legislators take notice when municipalities like ours across the state say that they want this sensible bill. 4 of the state's largest cities have passed resolutions. Our sister city, Port Hueneme, has passed one. 70% of voters, according to a recent poll, want a polluter pays bill. Hearing from you will offset the intense campaigning, false information, and millions of dollars being spent by the oil lobby to defeat it. It lets state decision makers know that what Californians really want is for their leaders to address the twin crises of our times, climate and affordability. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wheeler. Molly McCoy. And Molly, you'll be followed by Eric.
Good evening, City Council members and Honorable Mayor. My name is Molly McCoy, and I'm here to voice my support for Agenda Item E1, the Polluter Pays Climate Resolution. I'm a graduate from the Oxnard Unified High School District and the Ventura County Community College District. I analyzed this bill in an environmental law class during my final month at UC Davis, and I'm honored to be presenting it here in front of you all tonight. I'm also here in solidarity with Seafrog, as well as Oxnard's frontline communities who have long faced the realities of climate change on their doorsteps. But above all, I'm just one of the few young people present tonight out of more than the 100,000 total in Ventura County, and I'm terrified about the current and impending climate and affordability crises. Sea level rise, wildfires, droughts, and heat waves are just some of the greatest risks we're up against. And as these horrific climate disasters continue to break records, federal disaster and insurance programs are being stripped away in the midst of state budget shortages, and fossil fuel companies rake in billions of dollars year after year. We cannot sit idly by and continue to pay for and bankrupt ourselves for the messes that they have willingly and knowingly caused and forced upon us. Now, more than ever, we must hold polluters accountable and reinvest their profits in climate mitigation and adaptation efforts, first responder preparedness, workforce development, and resilient infrastructure. With these programs and improvements, my generation can afford to stay here and build our lives without the fear of losing our homes to climate disaster. The Superfund is well within reason and follows environmental legal theory. Plus, the fees would be less than 0.1% of these firms' trillion-dollar profits, and they have the option of paying them over the 10-year period. With this local resolution, Oxnard would join California's 3 largest cities and many small communities, and together we can send a clear, strong message to our state legislatures that local communities need vital economic and climate support and shouldn't be left out of the conversation. We have a rare, incredible opportunity to support statewide policy and protect our communities for generations to come. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Molly. Eric, and then Eric will be followed by Todd Collard.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Eric Bershinger. I am a product of OUHSD as well as Oxnard College, and before I transferred to UC Santa Barbara, where I recently graduated. Go Gauchos. I'm here today in support of the Polluter Pays Climate Superfund Act resolution. At my day job, I help homeowners receive rebate checks to make their homes more resilient against wildfires, doing home hardening is what it's called. That money did not come from taxpayers. It came from a private corporation who was forced to pay through a lawsuit settlement because of the damages that they did, because of a fire that they started. Utility companies can clean up their messes, so why not oil companies? And oil companies have caused far more damage financially to the state of California than any industry in the history of the world. This bill has a lot of potential for Oxnard. There's a lot of funding that could go towards adapting to climate change, such as sea level rise adaptations, flooding resilience, and adapting to extreme heat. Those are all cost savings that can be passed down to Oxnard residents and California taxpayers in general. Oxnard is the largest city in Ventura County and has the chance to be the first in the county to pass a formal resolution supporting this bill. I've been speaking with a lot of lawmakers and their staff in Sacramento about what we can do locally to support this bill and make sure it gets through the finish line. And passing resolutions like this one is the biggest thing we can do. By doing this, we show that there is local support and a desire for funding that would come from this bill. And we tell skeptical legislators that we are paying attention to them. That this is in fact an affordability measure. The legislature right now is hyper-focused, rightfully so, on affordability. And we need to prove to them that this bill would pass cost savings down to their constituents in Oxnard and all across the state. And we need to show them that we don't believe the oil industry's lies when they say gas prices will magically go up if they're forced to pay a tiny fraction of 1% of their profits to clean up their own messes that they made. That's why I urge you to support this resolution today. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Eric. Thank you. Todd? And Mr. Collard, you're going to be followed by Aaron Morrell.
Yeah, Mayor, members of the council, you've heard a lot of the practical reasons why you should vote for this recommendation, and you'll hear more, I'm sure, throughout the evening. I'm here to emphasize another aspect of that is that your decision, I'm sure, is grounded initially in your own interests for your own citizens and your governmental staff and getting things done, as you've expressed many times throughout the evening. But you also know that any action you take in favor of this particular set of bills can influence the whole state, and 40 million people can take advantage of this, but it takes people individually to make a difference. I'm a Ventura resident, and I'm strongly hoping you do adopt this because I'd like to be able to go back to my city, who've yet to agendize this even for discussion, as you have, and say, look, Port Hueneme done this. The smallest city, coastal city in the county, the largest coastal city in the county. Why haven't you done it? And without that kind of initiative you've taken, I'd be that much further behind the 8 ball in terms of trying to persuade them to put this on the agenda. So your action is really speaking for a lot more than just your own population here of 200,000 plus. You're speaking really on behalf of 40 million people. And without individual actions, it doesn't happen. Imagine we're all in a rowboat. It's sinking. We're bailing water. We don't care who bails first, how big the buckets are. Everybody's got to do whatever they can. And the people who don't want to bail are just going to help us all drown. Thank you.
Thank you, Todd. Aaron? And Aaron, you'll be followed by Arthur.
Hello, council members. My name is Erin. I hope that the council will adopt the resolution. I remember learning in my economics classes about externalities, how some companies avoid having to pay for the resources they use and degrade in the process of doing business. This is a market failure. When a company is allowed to get away with pushing off these externalities, everyone else pays for them instead. Some places and some people pay more for pollution and climate change than others. To make the economy fair, companies creating the pollution should pay for the impact they've had on the world and internalize the externalities. That's what the Polluters Pay Superfund Act is supposed to do. Please support it to help make polluters pay for freely spewing damaging pollution on the rest of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. Arthur? And then Natalie Johnson will follow Arthur.
Hi again. So there's not much else I can say that these young activists have already mentioned, but generally here just in support of the polluter pay bills that are going through Sacramento, and as we passed last year here at the City Council about opposing any new permits for this County of Ventura or State of California, I hope that this falls in line with what the City of Oxnard is moving forward to having more green technology and a more green economic environment for our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Arthur. Natalie Johnson? And then Dries, you'll follow Natalie.
Hi, I'm Natalie Johnston, and I'm a lifelong resident of Fillmore, but I've worked extensively here in Oxnard as a substitute teacher. And I'm here today to ask you to please take the weight of climate change off of our kids' shoulders. For generations, fossil fuel companies have swept their impact on the planet under the rug and pretended that their impact doesn't exist. The reality is that they've created compacting repercussions and shifted all of the responsibility onto the rest of us. Here in Oxnard, fossil fuel emissions put us at risk of coastal flooding, worsening air quality, worsening heat waves, and wildfires that are increasing in their frequency and intensity. On a personal note, since I was 14, I've dreamed of someday becoming a homeowner. That has felt less and less attainable each year, and the last thing that we need is to lose existing houses to wildfires and face overwhelming insurance prices on existing homes. These polluters have had evidence from as early as the 1950s and certainly by the 1970s that their actions would lead to these kinds of catastrophic effects. It's no surprise that they hid their strikingly accurate models and studies and fed the public lies for decades out of concern that the truth would impact their sales. These choices have cost lives. It's criminal, and it's long past time for us to hold them accountable. With the Make Polluters Pay Climate Superfund Act, we can place pressure on massive corporations like Shell, Exxon, and Chevron to take responsibility for their choices. We can additionally use the accrued funds to improve our climate across California, including here, in ways such as implementing wildfire mitigation efforts, restoring habitats, increasing access to heatwave cooling centers, and building the infrastructure to manage flooding, to name only a few. I have 2 nieces, a nephew, and another niece on the way in November. I myself never asked to be a part of this fight, but silence and apathy could not be more dangerous. I certainly don't want yet another generation to have to continue this fight for justice. On their behalf, I ask you to please pass a resolution in support of this bill. When it comes to the floor for a vote in Sacramento next year, we need all of the support that we possibly can to help us protect our futures. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalie. Thank you. We'll go to Dries Vergeer. And Dries, you'll be followed by Sarah.
Hello, my name is Dries Vergeer, and I'm a high school junior at Ventura High School. It's okay.
Sorry.
At Ventura High School, here in solidarity with my friends and peers in Oxnard, urging you to really consider and ultimately pass the proposed resolution under agenda item E1 to affirm your support for constructive legislation that helps protect communities. So natural disasters and rising temperatures already have and undoubtedly will continue to affect the residents of Ventura County and Oxnard, and we're no strangers to these fires and heat waves. I myself, in December of 2017, was an 8-year-old child when the Thomas Fire just grazed past my home, and looking out my bedroom window at the adjacent hillside ablaze in flames, I didn't realize what that meant as an 8-year-old, but now I do, and I know that that means lots of financial damages, lots of health implications for citizens, and ultimately a lack of responsibility from fossil fuel companies who have exacerbated these problems. Ultimately, that's why I'm asking, why aren't those companies taking responsibility, and why aren't they bearing the costs of disaster? That's why we're asking you to support the resolution of the Polluter Pays Climate Superfund, the state bill that, as you've heard, will hold fossil fuel polluters and companies accountable for their damages. The bill outlines, as you've heard, a study of the top fossil fuel polluters, then assessing those responsible parties in their pollution, assigning proportional fees, and then distributing those in ways that can help communities. At least 40% of those fees will go towards especially vulnerable neighborhoods and disadvantaged communities that include Oxnard. Notably, these funds, again, could benefit Oxnard by providing assistance with disaster preparedness and toxic industry decommissioning. Further, they also provide an opportunity to ease a very intense strain on tight budgets, especially when many pressing issues arise but resources are scarce. As other people have stated before, recent polls have shown that support for this bill is high. Over 70% of Californian voters would support it, and the major cities like San Francisco, Los Angeles, and more recently Port Hueneme have also followed suit and supported this resolution formally. You tonight have the opportunity to be part of this positive action towards creating a safe, sustainable, and healthy future for Oxnard and all of us who call Ventura County home. So I really hope you will consider it and support our proposed resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. And sorry for butchering your name. And it looked like Fries to me, but without the F. Oh. Right. I'm McDonald's. Thank you, Sarah, for coming back. Go ahead.
Thank you. Hi again. I'm Sarah Wolczewski, and I learned in school, reduce, reuse, recycle. That was the gold standard for supporting environmental causes when I was growing up. But that is just individual impact. That does not take into account that individual impact is a fraction of what the big corporations, especially oil corporations, contribute to climate change. Please listen to these young people. They will be the ones who have to deal with cleaning up these messes. Please support the Polluters Pay Act. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. And we'll go to, just to be respectful, we'll go to the virtual caller who's been waiting. It's Evelyn.
Evelyn, you have 3 minutes starting now.
Hello, my name's Evelyn Sang, and I'm a UCSB student and a youth leader with local nonprofit CFrog. I'm here to respectfully ask you to please vote to pass a resolution in support of the California Polluter Pays Climate Superfund Act. By passing a resolution showing local support, Oxnard can help influence target legislator to pass the bill up in Sacramento. I want to possibly readdress a possible point of concern on this bill, which is that it may raise costs for residents or consumers. This is actually not true. The price of oil is set by the global market and not by California's policies or individual companies. Thus, these fees discussed in the bill only apply to the largest multinational fossil fuel companies who have made over $2 trillion in profit since 1990. Additionally, the California Energy Commission prevents fossil fuel companies from raising prices for non-operational costs, such as this recompense fee. The truth is, we've already been paying the costs, both private and social. We pay the private costs at the pump, and we pay the social costs through raising healthcare bills. From asthma and heart disease, we pay through higher insurance rates and higher costs of living every time our communities are hit by wildfires, storm surges, droughts. Californians have been footing an unwritten bill while fossil fuel companies are pocketing record profits. The Polluter Pays Climate Superfund operates on a very simple concept that we all have learned as children. If you're responsible for making a mess, it's your responsibility to clean it up. It ensures that at least some of their billion-dollar profits are reinvested into the communities they have profited from. This could look like local green job development, sea level rise mitigation, building electrification, and so much more that these people have been talking about. Fossil fuel companies have known since the 50s how much harm their products cause. But rather than putting efforts toward mitigating these harms, the industry has spent billions of dollars on misinformation campaigns to avoid accountability while continuing to pollute at the expense of our health, our environment, and our wallets. It's time that big oil is held responsible for their legacy of harm. I'm here today to ask you to please vote yes to pass this resolution and join the other cities across the state in sending the message that it's time to hold polluters accountable and protect residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Evelyn, for your comments. We'll go to Francis Lee. And Ms. Lee, you'll be followed by Faith Grant.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Thank you for taking my comments today. My name's Francis Lee, and I've worked and lived in Ventura County for 25 years, and now I volunteer to help pass strong climate legislation to make a better world. Holding polluters accountable is a popular concept, And according to a Yale study, the majority of people are alarmed or concerned about the climate crisis, and they want their elected officials to do more. However, the oil and gas industry has delayed the transition to clean energy for their own financial gains at the expense of our health, our property, our livelihoods. This is not sustainable, and we can no longer afford it. 40% of the Climate Superfund will go to disadvantaged communities, such as here and around other parts of the state, and will help our cities become more resilient by investing in communities and needed support services. So this is the largest city in the county, and by passing this resolution, will have a significant influence on how our California legislators see how much we want this bill. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Lee. Ms. Grant, and then Ms. Grant will be followed by Odette Moran.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. California is facing an affordability crisis, in addition to the ever-increasing and devastating impacts of the climate crisis. For decades, California taxpayers have been shouldering the cleanup costs of disasters caused by the fossil fuel industry. From rising insurance costs to costs of health impacts, to the cost of rebuilding after a climate disaster, Californians have paid enough. It is time to hold polluters accountable to the climate damages they've caused. With cuts to FEMA funding and the stripping of environmental protections, California needs to take action to protect us, our health, and our environment. That's why we are trying to pass the California Polluters Pay Act. And we need your help building local support for this crucial bill. The California Polluters Pays Act is a legally and economically sound bill that would hold the largest fossil fuel companies accountable to the climate damages they've caused, providing relief to taxpayers, especially those impacted by recent disasters, such as the LA fires. Our state legislators need to know that their constituents are demanding this accountability. By passing a resolution and showing local support, Oxnard can help influence legislators to pass this bill in Sacramento. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Grant. Odette? And then Eduardo Huerta, you'll follow Odette.
Good afternoon, Oxnard City Council and staff once more. My name is Odette, pronouns they, them, theirs, and I'm a youth and young adult community organizer with CAUSE, and here to support CFROG and Council Member Perez and making sure that this is part of her agenda here today. As y'all may know, there's a lot of things going on in our community, and one thing that I have been sitting with, especially after coming back from Sacramento to talk about environmental justice policies, is that this is not going to be a good year for environmental justice. And we need policies like this one and legislation like this one to really spearhead to make sure that our communities aren't also truly impacted with environmental injustices in a very rampant and terrible way. And so supporting this bill here today as Oxnard City Council will be opening doors for hope when it comes to statewide legislation. As y'all may know, big polluters such as oil industries profit off of a lot of different projects that are in communities like ours here in Oxnard and cause Superfund sites from oil like wells, right? Here in Oxnard, we have our very own Superfund site, and we know how hard it's been to, in the process, even to get the information of what this causes are, right? This bill could potentially support us in many more ways in the future, but we need to start with this right now, And so I'm urging you as Oxnard City Council to please support this bill as environmental injustices may come to be, this will be your strand of hope. And so thank you so much for your time, and thank you for CFROG for putting this forward.
Yeah. Thank you, Odette. Mr. Huerta? And then Eduardo will be followed by Susana Barron.
Hey guys, how's it going? So are you guys familiar with the, what's it called, the technical report for coastal hazardous mapping? Or are you guys any familiar with that? Council? No? So that's why we're here. Because 12 years ago, I think Fisher is aware about it. Infrastructure. You know, we're building houses. I mean, we're building levees late because we ignored, global warming. Some of us believe in global warming, some of us don't. Item 43 has a lot to do with this global warming solutions packet because this is going to pull out a lot of funding that we need during crisis. This is my campaign. I've worked in Sacramento, so I saw the maps. So when I saw COVID and I saw the housing coming up, I didn't surprise me when River Ridge went underwater. It didn't surprise me. So, and that's why I ran for office, because I worked for Sacramento. I worked for good people that actually got you guys in office. And here we are still cleaning up a mess locally, and our community is hurting because of, Carmen's gone. Carmen's an immigration attorney. She knew what the hell she was doing. Where are our attorneys? She ran this council. She was a powerhouse. And what I'm trying to say is that I ran a campaign for her on the MPG plan. I know what this is about. I ran against Bert Perello. He talked about infrastructure, then about the levee. We're still talking about the same thing. Why? Because some of us just don't believe that the world's changing. And honestly, it's our migrant community that's suffering. That's why our migrant community is suffering, because we ignored our infrastructure, period. And that's Aaron Starr's technical game there. He knew measures L, M, and E. All these measures came out for that same reason. I mean, we're going to sit here and cross our hands and not say nothing and let our community suffer? No, we have a country that really needs the attention. So this bill this legislation needs to pass. Other thing too is, I'm nobody's crash dummy. I'm not sure if you guys are going to continue to be the crash dummies here. I'm not offending you, but at the end, we shouldn't be here. We're 4 years late, and now our migrant community is suffering. And so this funding is going to help with erosion, anything to do with our nonprofits to see if we get flooded and the ocean comes and knocks down our agriculture. We need funding for our agriculture to pick up our farmers. It's a good package. And then on top of that, law enforcement needs it as well. This is where we're going to pull the funding out. If you guys are smart about it and you guys are going to protect our infrastructure, you guys would do it. Building houses and doing things under the table and ignoring the legalities on the APA and how you're supposed to make sure that we build houses properly, where we pull the water from, that's all important. So I just wanted you guys to know that. Make sure you guys prioritize this bill, because at the end, if you guys let this go, then I'm not sure where we're going to end up as a country. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Eduardo. Susana?
Good evening, Council and the public. My name is Susana Canales Barron, and I come here as a journalist. I have covered the mountain fire, the recent canyon fire, and I've studied extensively the Thomas fire. And it breaks my heart to hear that an 8-year-old and even younger families have had to see the devastation. During the mountain fire, I followed a family to go see if their mobile home was still up, if it was still standing. And when we got there, the ground was flat. There was just black ash, and their pets had died. And all the comments are so true. The communities and the families that are most impacted are communities of color, marginalized communities, and the leadership right now that we have at the federal level, environmental policies are going to, we already see it. They've been hit so hard, so we're counting on your leadership to support this bill. I am also so proud to be a Ventura County resident, and I've seen the leadership that has taken place to support our vulnerable communities, and I just ask that you continue on that mission. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Susana. Madam Clerk, does that conclude our final speaker?
Mayor and council members, that concludes our speakers on this item. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to tell the audience, I so much appreciate how respectful everyone has been and the decorum shown here tonight. So thank you to the leadership that's here. It's commendable what we see. Also want to thank our city attorney's office for the research they did on this item, and also certainly our Councilwoman Perez for putting this on the agenda. And for all the reasons stated here, I'm prepared to make a motion to adopt it as recommended.
Let me also ask some questions
Sure,
first.
absolutely, yeah.
Mr. Perillo
Mr.
was
Perillo.
first.
Councilwoman Perez, Councilmember Perez, if she were here, I'm sure she would make the motion. She has asked the Mayor Pro Tem to do this. I made the second on it. I would like to speak to the gentleman that would like to go to the city of Ventura. If you bring the quality of speakers that you have here tonight to Ventura, I don't see how you would not be successful. But I also want to be a realist. I'll support this. For you to think that there is not a cost involved to the residents, you're not drinking the same cup of coffee I am. Because the oil companies, energy companies, whatever the source of energy, the cost of lobbying, the cost of getting their friendly politicians in office, those are called costs of doing business. They've been successful for decades. You're going against a giant. I think it's a fight worth having, but going in naive is a mistake. Please don't go in naive. Thank you. Those are my comments.
Thank you, Councilmember. Yeah, Matt, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess I have a question for the city attorney's office. A few questions. I guess what I'm first trying to understand is, does this bill measure pollution generated in California, generated worldwide? How is this measured?
From my understanding, it's the companies in California, since it will be administered by the California EPA.
So would it be California company, or would it be companies that have, I guess, a nexus, a presence in California, and it would be based on their energy, rather their pollution generated worldwide? Is that how it would work?
I'm not sure how exactly they're going to be doing the tests to determine which companies and the nexus and the what the study entails.
Okay. And was there any discussion by the legislature that you're aware of about how you go back 35 years and measure pollution each year? I mean, not only, it seems to me you have all sorts of companies that have merged over the years, even identifying who they were and what their share would be. It seems like it'd be kind of problematic. Is there any discussion by the legislature on that you're aware of?
I'm not sure of the details of the studies that they're going to be putting together if it is passed, so I can't answer that right now.
All right. Well, I suspect that this is something that's going to be taxed on companies that have some sort of presence here, but perhaps have a worldwide pollution because it's climates everywhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
I wonder, though, what would happen if companies that are not in California, that are generating pollution, I would think that those would also impact California.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I want to thank you so much for your...
Sure. Thank you. Any other comments or pros or cons for discussion? Yeah, go ahead, Mayor Pro Tem.
Just a quick clarification. Did you second the motion, Councilmember Perillo? Okay. All right, that's fine.
I'll make the motion.
You made the motion.
At the appropriate time, I'd like to debate this as well.
Sure, absolutely. So we have a first and a second, and we'll open up for debate. Yeah. Mayor Pro Tem, go ahead. Sure.
All right, thank you. First off, I appreciate all the speakers who came here this evening, and I'll share that I did meet with the representatives from CFROG and some of the people who are here tonight, as I had a few questions about the item, and they wanted to set up time for that, so that was a perfect timing for that discussion, so thank you for your efforts on that. Looking at this, as many of you may know, I have a human services kind of lens on the way I look at things, and oftentimes I look at upstream and downstream thinking. Upstream being that when we invest in preventing harms and illnesses upstream, then downstream those costs are mitigated and lessened because we prevented those things from ever happening in the first place. And you can use that for any number of things: diabetes, diets, sugary drinks, alcohol and other drugs. I mean, the list goes on. But hearing this, an example that came to mind for me on this and holding corporations accountable in this case was an industry, and that's the commercial tobacco industry that in 1998 was found to have caused direct harm to the US population and affected downstream elevated healthcare costs. And for anyone who is interested, one sliver of that story, there's many, but one sliver of that, go look at the history of menthol cigarettes and the targeting of our Black community and how that has affected that community just in their health and their health outcomes. But that's just an aside. But the point of it being that holding that industry accountable for the harm that they caused, 3 decades later nearly, that has led to adult and youth smoking rates being the lowest they've ever been in history in the state of California. They are rock bottom for youth when you look at even just the beginning of this century, how that's continued to decline and continues to decline to this day. And that's an example of holding industry accountable and providing education, providing prevention work can actually cause better health outcomes for those who were previously affected. Likewise, these polluters we're discussing here, they have caused demonstrated harm to our larger environment, as we can see in their contributions to climate change, but also the historical disproportionate harm to low socioeconomic status communities and communities of color. When and how do we hold them accountable for that? And this is the type of legislation discussions that I believe as an individual where that effort continues and where it starts. Unfortunately, and this is a layer I look at, the current administration, as I see it, has demonstrated that they've prioritized the health of corporate profits over the health of people, ironically, including prioritizing that over the health of those who actually voted this administration into office. And so I bring this all up because earlier this evening and in previous meetings, we've talked about protecting some of our most vulnerable in this community. And these are not linear processes. These all overlap. These all interact with each other in their own ecosystem of social good and social harm. And I have to tell myself that I can't not support this if I'm talking about on other items that we need to support our vulnerable communities and make right what has been done to harm communities such as communities like South Oxnard. And so those are historical harms, things that I may not have been born, I may have been a kid when these things happened, but it doesn't matter. I'm voted here now. I have to take those things on. I inherited those when I signed up for this and the voters elected me to represent them. So for all of these reasons, I feel that this is, certainly there are questions about implementation, how would this work, what does it look like? Those details are, many are in place, and this process of legislation and going through amendments, that's part of this process. It would feel silly for me to not support this, knowing that the positive outcomes that can happen from this have been demonstrated in other efforts in the past. So for that reason, I'll support this. I appreciate Councilwoman Perez for bringing this forward and for getting the opportunity to read her statement tonight. So thank you to everybody for bringing that. And one last thing, for the opposition to this, where are they at? I guess we weren't worth their time to come out here and tell us why we shouldn't vote for this. So anyways, those are my comments. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you for that. Go to Councilmember.
Thank you. First of all, I want to say that I believe that the folks who are here who are advocating for this are very well intentioned. I have no doubt about that at all. I drove to work today. I recently bought a car. I suspect that many of you probably on occasion spend time in a vehicle. And probably every single one of us contributes to pollution to some extent. But certainly in the absence of my car, I would have a very difficult time getting around. And it'd be very difficult for me to get food on the table because of trucks that basically transport food from elsewhere to here. I think there's a lot of costs here that we're ignoring, and there are a lot of benefits that we're also ignoring. All these costs that we bear in society also have benefits, and you have to be asking yourself, what are the trade-offs? What am I willing to give up? How many of you here are willing to give up driving? I mean, do your part. Okay, excellent. Not everybody's willing to. I believe that this bill, at the very least, is constitutionally dubious. The Clean Air Act, which is a very comprehensive regulatory framework, specifically restricts states from imposing liability for emissions beyond their borders. I don't see how this will ever pass legal muster. I think that this bill creates a very destabilizing effect on the environment, and that the retroactive liability for perfectly legal activities going back to 1990 just seems really patently unfair to me. It will make businesses very hesitant to invest in this state, and I can tell you that there's no way that the state of California is going to be able to impose this tax on a company that has no nexus here. So what does that mean? It means that there'll be companies that would choose not to be here. And the ironic thing about that is that they'll relocate to areas where the standards are much laxer than here. So if you want to increase the amount of pollution that happens here, you want to pass this bill, because you're going to move all the jobs in the industry elsewhere, where they don't have the environmental protections that we have here in California. I don't believe for a moment that these costs won't, to some degree, be passed on to others. I mean, if you want an example of that, look at your life today. Everybody knows, I hope, that gasoline prices are much higher in California than they are elsewhere, and that's because of the regulatory environment. If you believe that passing this is not going to have an impact on gasoline prices, well, all the evidence from everything else in the past suggests otherwise, despite whatever study you might be able to quote. I believe that this is going to increase the affordability crisis in California because it's going to significantly impact the price of gasoline. It'll have an even bigger impact on the cost of natural gas. I think at the end of the day, what this is really all about by the legislature, not by you guys, but by the legislature, I think this is a money grab. And I think it'll be the poor, especially the poor in our community, that will be paying the price. So for all these reasons, I would be voting against this resolution.
Thank you, Councilmember Starr. Any other arguments, pro and cons? We have a first and a second. Yeah, go ahead, Mayor Pro Tem.
Just a quick thing, a small piece of Councilmember Starr's statement there regarding our own personal contributions to this. As others have stated here, that's a minuscule sliver compared to what these polluters put out as far as volume for the pollutants that we're talking about. And I'll invite everybody in this audience tonight, if you'd like, when you leave these council chambers, you can go to my parking spot here and you can take a selfie in the empty spot, because I didn't drive here. I rarely do. And my scooter's in the back because I don't need the parking spot. My electric scooter's right here in the back of the closed session room. So many of us do try to do what we can individually, knowing that even that, when we talk about these gross polluters, that's minuscule. But everything counts in large amounts, I suppose. So thank you.
As you know, I support the adoption as recommended, just simply because I look much like the mayor for all the points stated here by everyone who spoke so eloquently. But I look at the asbestos industry, I look at the tobacco industry, now most recently the opioid industry, and you have to have policy in place to regulate and hold people and hold these corporations accountable. So I'm certainly in favor of this, of adopting the resolution. If there's no further debate on it, then we will, I'll call for the vote. Madam Clerk?
Mayor MacArthur,
Yes.
Councilmember Peralta, Councilwoman Rodriguez,
Aye.
Councilmember Starr,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Teran,
Yes.
Councilwoman Basua. Yes. And this motion carries 5-1 with Councilmember Starr voting no. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. We'll now move to the next item on the agenda. And thanks again for your professionalism and decorum. Thank you. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.
This is the review of, this is the info consent agenda. Any council members have any consent items they wish to discuss? Okay. Which ones are those, Councilmember Pearl?
Number 2 and number 7.
Any others? Councilmember Starr?
Yeah, I'd like to have also number 3, 4, 6, and 8.
Okay.
So I guess combined that'd be 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8.
So Mayor, I think we have consent items 1 and 5 that have not been pulled for discussion, correct?
Okay.
If that's the case, I'll move to approve those 2 items.
Second.
Okay. Madam Clerk, call for the vote. Actually, is there any public speakers on these 2 items?
Mayor and council members, we do not have any speakers on items 1 and 5 of the information and consent agenda.
And Mayor, do we have any speakers on the items that are pulled? If we do they speak now or do they pull when the item is discussed?
City Attorney, can I refer to you for consult on this?
I'd ask the presiding officer what he would like to do.
Sure.
I don't believe that you're required to take that at each time. There is a spot on the agenda for public comments on the information consent agenda, and
Okay.
people can address that or
Sure.
had the opportunity
I don't
to
even
address
think we have
that.
any public
No.
speakers on any consent agenda items. Is that correct, Madam Clerk? We do? Okay. Then stand correct. Thank you. Then we'll take Mr. Stein, do you want to come up and speak to your item?
Which item?
This is item 6.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor,
Good evening.
members of City Council, staff, and general public. I'm somewhat concerned about the verbiage involved with this item. It says initial term with 4 consecutive terms to talk about on-call labor compliance services. I'm somewhat confused by the term labor compliance.
Exactly.
For example, we have a parking structure. Labor's been supposed to be performed on this for a year. Where's the compliance on performing labor on this? We got a overpass at 5th Street that's been going on for 10 years as far as studies go. And I see very little work being done on that. Where's the compliance for labor getting this work done? We have a wells that's supposed to be built 15 plus years ago between 2010 and 2012. Funds were raised for this. Bonds were raised. Money was collected on this. We built the pipeline to serve 5 entities, but where's the labor Where's the compliance for the labor to construct the actual wells? 15 years later, we, the ratepayers, spending $10 million to subsidize the wells that were supposed to have been built. Where's the labor compliance on this? I'd like to get a clear understanding. Why are you going to be complying? Where is the labor compliance for all this work? What is entailed in the labor compliance? How's it going to benefit the residents of Oxnard for compliance for the labor? A fire station was been built when the homes were built. A park was being built. The funds were raised. This money, the city spent the money that was raised for the people who live in East Village and West Village to build a park. Where's the labor compliance to making sure these things were built? I don't fully understand what you mean by labor compliance, so I'd like to get a clarification what is meant by labor compliance. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Stein.
So Mayor, I guess we'll be discussing number 6 first, and then maybe moving back to the others.
We could, since it's
Let's
in-
do that, 'cause
revert back to
I
it,
think
that's
it's a
fine.
fair question. I think I'd like staff to answer, just sort of elaborate more on what the term
Just a
labor compliance work.
Point of order, if I
means.
can, Mayor, I think we have a motion on the table for the minutes
There's one-
and the item 5.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's for 1 and 5 on the consent agenda. And we had no public speakers. So Madam Clerk, can we call for the vote on that?
Councilmember Peralta,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rodriguez. Aye. Councilmember Starr,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Teran,
Yes.
Councilwoman Basua, Mayor MacArthur.
Yes.
And this motion carries 6-0. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see again, Mr. Wolf. I think
So
we're going to start with
I guess the question is, perhaps can you elaborate on what labor compliance, what that actually is, what it entails,
Sure.
what it accomplishes?
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, council members. Michael Wolf, Director of Public Works. So labor compliance is you think about it as prevailing wage. So as a public agency, we have requirements to do certain things under contract law or code and public code or purchasing codes. And a lot of that has to do with paying certain rates. And this is a firm that we utilize to verify that the contractor is paying the required rates. They also do labor interviews, so they'll go to the job site and they'll interview the laborers and the journeymen, the journey folks, and the workers on site to make sure that they are getting paid the right amount, getting paid for the right type of work that they're doing as well, because they may be working out of class. We don't want that to happen as well. So that's the labor compliance. It has nothing to do with whether or not we're doing projects that are on the CIP. It has nothing to do with whether or not Mr. Steins thinks that certain things were quote unquote promised. I can't speak to those kinds of things. We have a CIP that's City Council's approved. Those projects are somewhere in the process, whether they're in planning, design, or construction. Many times I have come up to this podium and talked about the status of our ASR project that I'm not sure if he just doesn't hear the information or doesn't want to understand the information, but the ASR project is in construction. The well's already been actually drilled. If you've passed by Campus Park lately, you know that the building's actually constructed. They're finishing up the piping. So it has nothing to do with those kinds of things. It has to do with ensuring that they're basically the essence is paying the correct amount of pay for the right types of job categories.
Is this function ever done in-house, or is some of it done in-house, or has it ever been done in-house?
It can be. I have worked at places where some of it is done in-house. The issue here is we want to make sure that the city does not get caught up into any legal issues. And so To do it in-house means another staff member. So if council wants to give me a new staff member, I'm willing to take another staff member to do that. Or if city council wants us to stop certain projects, if you want me to take projects off the list, tell me which projects council doesn't want me to do. I'll certainly take staff members off of those projects to do that. But yes, so it can be done in-house, but it all comes down to workload and work management. And so it can be done in-house.
And my last question would be, I imagine that if somebody didn't do this function, whether it was contracted out or done in-house, that I imagine there must be some consequences to the city if this were not performed. Can you kind of elaborate on that?
So, and that's the crux of the issue is, as the public agency, we have to pay the prevailing wage for certain types of work. And the burden falls on the contractor to pay that prevailing wage, but we are the responsible party to make sure that that also is occurring. And so we want to make sure we stay out of any legal issues for that. And so this is, basically there are QA/QC or a compliance component to this. In fact, Morgan and I were having this conversation earlier today about making sure we're utilizing this judiciously to the extent that is necessary, but not overly using it, because there is an opportunity for us to make sure that we don't use it just to use it. We use it wisely to make sure that we're not exposing the city to potentially having to pay fines and back pay to laborers that aren't getting paid correctly.
Right, and just so my understanding, are there other cities that have run afoul of this, and have they had to bear costs? I'm just trying to imagine, to me, it seems to me that the contractors really should be the ones that are on the hook for this rather than us. So I don't want to absorb a cost that I don't have to, but have other cities that have not done this, have they incurred penalties that you're aware of, or maybe some other member of staff is aware of that?
The response is yes. The city is required to make sure that its contractors on projects comply with the state labor laws. And yes, there are consequences if the city does not comply and doesn't take the measures, particularly if it doesn't take the basic measures needed to ensure compliance.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Perlow. Yeah. Doesn't seem, do you have something?
I just have a comment on this item. Having extensive knowledge of what Casamar does and being very knowledgeable in the work that they do. They're extremely knowledgeable. It is something that is needed. It is a lot of work on staff time, and it's keeping up with prevailing wages. Every 6 months they change. It is a lot of work, and they do well. They catch mistakes. It's not like the contractors, with prevailing wages continuously changing twice a year. Sometimes the contractor doesn't catch it, and it's just, they have to pay back wages. So this is definitely something, it's very common to have this.
Thank you for that insight, Councilwoman.
I'm sorry, Mayor. I will add also the categories of the jobs also. You can have several subcategories of a let's just use equipment operator as a main category. You can have subcategories to that, and the type of work that this operator may be doing on this job may be, category 6 of operator, but they're getting paid at a category 4. Casamar or these kinds of companies are going to know, no, that's a category 6, and they should be being paid at this rate versus this rate. So there's some, as Councilwoman Basu has mentioned, there's some very technical components to this.
Thank you for that insight. Councilmember?
I appreciate this and I support it, but I would just like to share with the council. Before I got on the council, I knew Mr. Stein. We were both much younger, much lighter, both had more hair, and asked a lot of questions. And Mr. Stein is 100% true on some of the factual accurate on some of the things that he's brought up. And I didn't hear a council member ask this question, but I'll bring it up so you can all hear it. His comment about East and West Village and a fire station, he's 100% accurate. Mr. Starr, where you live, before that house was built, there was supposed to be a fire station, and it wasn't built in East or West Village. Before the high school was supposed to have a fire station, but some accommodation was made in the old days of how Oxnard worked, that there was a determination, since sprinklers were in the houses now, there wouldn't need to be a fire station, and there would be an accommodation moving forward. That has been something that Mr. Stein has not forgotten, to his credit, and neither have I. And the reason that I support this is because these things matter. When we find subcontractors working for contractors and in fear for explaining to the people that are checking the job, is he having me jump on a tractor which is supposed to cost so much more in labor, but he's having me do it if I want to keep the job. That kind of stuff is not happening with the people that we have here now. I trust, because there has not been that long when some of you were on the council and we had organized labor coming here raising Cain with us, that we weren't doing that. That was the job of the compliance and also organized labor. I think at the time it was carpenters that were raising Cain about it. And it was trying to shovel their responsibilities onto us. But that is why I support this. And when Mr. Stein and I were in the audience and it would come up just what liability the city would have, Mr. Starr, let me tell you, when the discussions were made, the city could have been in a lot of trouble, especially if there had been a fire and it came out, as past friend of yours, Mr. Edward Castillo, used to bring up all the time, where's that fire station? Where's that fire station? I never believed it till I saw it in printing. And the determination by a previous fire chief, they have sprinklers so we don't need the fire station. How that got accepted, I don't know. I wasn't on the council, had no intention for running on the council, but over a period of time I learned things that got me to run for the council. I totally support this and I appreciate the response that you got. The reason I bring this up, I don't want you to think that Mr. Stein is off base on everything. Some things, but on that, he is not off base. It has been explained to him by myself multiple times in Public Works about the wells and where it's going. We're not dragging our feet, but he doesn't want to listen to that. Thank you, Mayor.
Absolutely. Thanks for that insight.
Just for the record, yeah, I find Mr. Stein's comments really quite insightful at times. And I appreciate actually what he does bring up. So I don't want you to think that I have anything against Mr. Stein.
Sometimes going back and look at the history will help with those comments.
Thank you.
I also just did a quick Google search, $10,000 for failing to comply with Department of Industrial Relations requirements for SB 96, which is labor compliance. So if you just want to do a quick Google search, you can find out your answer to your question.
Thank you. What's the pleasure of council on that particular item? Okay.
I said.
Okay. Madam Clerk, bye, Mr. Stein. Thank you. Call for the vote on that item.
Councilwoman Rodriguez?
Aye.
Councilmember Starr?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Teran?
Yes.
Councilwoman Basua?
Yes.
Mayor MacArthur?
Yes.
Councilmember Perallo? And this motion carries 6-0. Thank you.
Thank you. And, Mayor Pro Tem has a question. Go ahead, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be quick on this. I note that we pulled 6 of the 8 consent items, and we spent just under 15 minutes on this first one. And these are all items that either have come to the council before, been vetted by committee, or typically routine items. I understand that they were each pulled by their respective council members for important reasons. And I'll make a motion. If I get a second, great. If not, that's fine too. But considering that we have a number still to go and 2 report items after this, I would like to move that we limit debate on these items. I'll put a time certain. Does 8:35 seem fair to get through the rest of these, the 5 remaining items?
No.
I will second.
And we would need a supermajority vote on that. It'd be 2/3
And may I say why I will second that? Consent is routine items that come to us that if we've got a lot of questions and debate, we really need to contact staff and have those questions answered. That way we can educate the people that are coming to us and asking us these questions. We don't really need to debate everything up here on the dais.
Well, I would feel more comfortable if we gave a certain amount of time per item versus rushing 20 minutes when some of us are more long-winded than others.
Okay. Mayor, I'm sorry, Mr. Perla, go ahead.
My opinion, strongly held, I don't like the idea of throttling or muzzling any member of the council. I don't like council members, myself included, going off the railroad tracks and coming back and it's 10:30 at night. But unless somebody's got a hot date, I don't see why we can't get this done before 10 o'clock. And the other issue that's significant to me, specifically on the first item I pulled, that item was approved on a 3-2 vote, and or 4-3 vote, the minutes and the funding. And if there is going to be discussion about some of these items, as the esteemed Councilmember Basua, I can't go to one of the committee meetings and ask a question, because that would be a quorum and be a problem. But if I go to one of those meetings and ask the staff a question, how do I share that information with the rest of the council when it's something that maybe that committee missed, such as the item we just talked about?
Well, some of these items, like the items that, and I'm sorry, some, like the items that we just, took time to pull. I mean, these are routine items, and if we do have questions as council members, that we should, a lot of our questions can be answered through an email or just, like staff did, Google search. Consent items to me are items that do not require a lot of debate. And if we're going to be pulling every item, then we need to tell staff, forget about your consent calendar, put everything as a business item, because we're gonna pull it anyways.
I think we're kind of divided up here. I appreciate the Mayor Pro Tem's suggestion. It sounds like you're supportive of that, Councilwoman, but then I do hear Councilwoman Rodriguez as well and Mr. Perello. So I think we're kind of divided. I think we all are interested in hearing. And can we just, I know we have a first and a second, or can we just agree to maybe just condense our questions and try to just expedite through, maybe spend a little bit more time on others?
Sure.
I can.
Sure.
Would that be
We can
acceptable?
manage our time on
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Okay. Sounds
The
good.
motion is 8:35.
Do you want to amend it?
We're in for 5 more
I
minutes.
know. Do you want to amend it? You can change the time.
So why don't you just withdraw your motion, and let's just get through this as fast as we can. I think that we can be expeditious with this. We're actually pretty early in the evening. We spent a lot of time with public comments before we got to here. I suspect we're going to spend a lot less time on all the rest of these items than we've spent on just public comments up to this point.
Okay, so then, you're gonna, Mayor Pro Tem, you're just gonna pull the item, or do you want to amend it?
Well, I'll give us 5 more minutes. We can do 8:40.
I have a problem with limiting it as a bulk. If you want to try and limit it to for any particular item, maybe, but I just.
How about this? Oh, sorry, go ahead, Councilmember.
Why don't you go ahead and make your statement?
Well, are there any of these items that have been pulled that you feel either of you are going to need a significant amount of time, just like we spent 10 minutes or 15 minutes on the first item?
It depends if my question is responded to, and depending on what the, excuse this, the intelligence of the rest of the council. If they read that information, they found the same question that I did. So I can't speak for the rest of the council. And I know they're very intelligent people.
What, can we just commit to just, maybe just expediting and condensing our questions and reassessing as we move through?
So in other words,
Okay.
we have a motion and a second on the table, and now we're going to ignore it?
No, we're just.
Okay.
We can vote.
Yeah, we can vote, I was just asking if he wants to.
I had originally said 8:35, but I'm willing to do 8:40 now, and we can maybe go to the items that we think need more time first.
So the motion on the table is 8:35. Are you making an amendment to a motion to make it 8:40?
I will amend my
You'd have to have
motion.
that seconded, I suppose.
You still want a second on the 8:40, or do you want to withdraw that second?
I will second that motion. And again, my point is, we've got to be prepared on these consent items.
Okay. Let's, Madam Clerk, we'll call for the vote.
So the motion first is on the amendment to have 8:40 instead of 8:35?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Councilwoman Basua?
Yes.
Mayor MacArthur?
No.
Councilmember Perallo? Councilwoman Rodriguez?
No.
Councilmember Starr?
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Teran?
Yes.
And this motion fails.
So the main motion on the table now is 8:35.
Mayor MacArthur?
No.
Councilmember Perallo? Councilwoman Rodriguez?
No.
Councilmember Starr?
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Teran?
Yes.
Councilwoman Basua?
Yes.
And this motion fails, 2 to 4.
Yeah, 4 to 4.
Thank you.
Absolutely, but I think the message is clear, right? And I appreciate that initiative. Mayor Pro Tem, we'll just try to expedite and condense our questions. So let's go to Mr. Perello pulled item 2. This is from the city clerk, candidate processing fee ordinance, that the city council adopt ordinance 3068 titled Ordinance of the City of Oxnard, California, adding sections 1 through 52 to Chapter 1, Article 4 of the Oxnard City Code, establishing a candidate processing fee for the filing of nomination papers pursuant to California Elections Code 10228. And this item did not originate in committee. And the city attorney's here to answer any questions. What's up, Councilmember Porter, go ahead.
I appreciate this. I'll try to be as quick as possible. I do support this item, but when the item came forward before, which the minutes we have approved, it was a very strongly split council. I do believe, and they've left except for one gentleman, was a person that ran for election. We've had, I believe, 4 people here tonight that ran for election, and we're simply going to send a letter. I don't know that all the people that have run for election still have the same address. It was discussed at the last time. We should put a list together that should be put into the record of those people that are entitled to $25. Somebody's going to go, $25 is nothing. In my matter, I'd bend over to pick up $25. As Councilmember Rodriguez and I have discussed in the past, we bump each other out of the way to get a nickel. $25 is a big deal.
Yeah.
But I also think it's a big deal for the public to be aware we're above board and we're giving these people the opportunity to get $25 if they are owed it and identify who is owed it. Those are my total comments, and I hope that strikes a chord with somebody else on the council.
Mr. Mayor, just so I'm clear, I don't think what we're discussing at this time is the letter that the city manager's been authorized to send out. I think the only thing that's on the agenda here today is the adoption of the ordinance itself, which I'll be voting no on, like I did last time.
That's correct, my understanding. I needed to share that on this item, and this is why I'm bringing it at this time.
I appreciate that, Mr. Parlo. Thank you. Any further discussion on this item, or what's the pleasure of council of this item? Okay. Is there a motion?
Well, I'll move the recommended action of processing a $25 fee for running for office.
Second.
Okay. Madam Clerk, call for the vote.
Councilwoman Basua? Yes. Mayor MacArthur?
Yes.
Councilmember Perallo? Yes. Councilwoman Rodriguez?
Aye.
Councilmember Starr?
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Teran?
Yes.
And this motion carries 5 to 1, with Councilmember Starr voting no. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move to item number 3. This was pulled by Councilmember Starr from the Finance Department. Monthly investment report for the period ending June 30, 2025. Recommendation. This is an information item for the City Council to receive and file only, and it did not originate in committee. And Mr. Javier Goyen-Lázaro is here to answer any questions that we may have. We'll start with you, Councilmember Starr.
Thank you. Actually, I'll make this pretty quick. So I'm just following up on my July 1 request for looking into how we can earn interest on our cash balances at Bank of America, because at the time we were just getting a, I guess call it an earnings credit against bank charges, and that may not be optimal for us. I was only wondering if there was any progress that was being made on that, and when you think we might hear from you an update on that.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council Member Javier Chagoyo-Lázaro, Chief Financial Officer with the City of Oxnard. We have started the conversation. We will have to involve the City Treasurer because it may require having a separate account to pull that information. And we may be able to also to address that excess cash balance. That's one alternative that we may be exploring with the Bank of America. But we're also going to be exploring through the investment policy to be able to have additional investment pools. And this is something that we'll be just sharing with the City Council that may allow us to move those funds to our that investment pool that would allow us also to start making interest on those funds.
And I'm sorry, did you mention what your target date you think is for coming back to the council on that? Is it 30 days, 60 days from now?
So we're going to be bringing to City Council the recommendation for the investment policy, and part of that recommendation will be adding additional investment pools that will work almost like a sweep account, or that would allow us to reimburse it. So we're going to be bringing for consideration to the City Council in 2 weeks to discuss that. That doesn't mean that, and then we will have just to work through the whole process.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions on this item? This is receive and file only.
No other questions, I'll move the recommended action.
There's no action required. It's a receive and file.
Okay.
Thank you, though, Mr. Perlo. Thank you. Okay. We'll move to item 4. This item was also pulled by Councilmember Starr from Public Works. Agreement with Park House Tire Service for tire rethreading and repair services. A recommendation that the City Council approve and authorize the mayor to execute an agreement with Park House Tire Service, DBA Park House Tire, Inc., for a total amount not to exceed $1 million for an initial term of 1 year from September 4, 2025 to September 3, 2026, with an option for 4 consecutive 1-year period extensions ending September 3, 2030, to provide tire rethread and repair services. Public Works and Transportation Committee approved this item back on July 22nd of this year with the approval of 3-0, and Director Wolf is here to answer any questions. Go ahead, Councilmember Starr.
Yeah, so basically this topic is about doing retreading tires versus buying new tires. And mostly what I just wanted to say today was that I was very happy that there was sufficient time given out for competitive bids. I see that there was a month there. I see that we've got information, which I've looked up myself, that shows that we'll save between 30 and 50% on the costs by doing this contract. So from my perspective, I just wanted the public to be aware that we're not always buying something new just to buy something new. We actually look at this. I see evidence of that we find ways that sometimes it makes sense to go the used approach, which we're doing here. So basically, I just wanted to mostly just compliment staff for putting this together, and for those reasons, I intend to vote yes on this.
Wonderful, thank you. Any other, yes, go ahead, Councilmember.
Mr. Wolf or Mr. Yanis, how long has the city of Oxnard been buying retreaded tires? My understanding, it's been quite some time. It's not a new process. We've been trying to, and successfully saving money for a couple of decades, maybe.
Yeah, at least 20 to 25 years. This is not a new process in the industry, especially for these large size vehicles. We're talking about semi trucks and our collection vehicles for ER. So these are some very big tires, and this is a pretty standard process for those size vehicles and those size tires. We're talking about some pretty large tires, and the industry has got this down to a science in terms of retreading those. So,
and even before our current city manager, this was going on. And just for the public to understand, the city has not been wasting money on items such as this. This is a very good investment in my belief, and I'll support this. And thank you.
Thank you for highlighting that, Councilmember Perlo.
I move the recommended action.
Wonderful. Okay. Madam Clerk, call for the vote. If there are no public speakers.
There are no public speakers. Councilwoman Basua? Yes. Mayor MacArthur?
Yes.
Councilmember Perallo?
Yes.
Councilwoman Rodriguez?
Aye.
Councilmember Starr?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Teran?
Yes.
And this motion carries 6-0. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move to item 7. This item was pulled by Mr. Perello from Public Works.
Yes, and for the public to understand, I did make a call to Mr. Eric Hummel, and Mr. Hummel got back to me, gave me the response, but I think it's worth the public hearing this. We have an attachment to this, and the attachment number 2 is called Green Latinos Agreement for project number 00000023. And what struck me was the term Green Latinos. With the current national administration we have, was this going to put a target on us that we were isolating a specific group that could receive benefits. I'm only based on recent history where we have the leader of our nation stripping racial groups as believing that they're getting preferential treatment, and I didn't want my city to be in a spot. Mr. Hummel explained what was going on, but if there's an opportunity somebody could possibly share, we are not at risk, or we have received this, but as Mr. Hummel did share with me, he did not say it, so I don't want him to get in trouble. I said it. At the whim of the current president, he could change his mind at a moment's notice, and we could be involved in losing these funds. If we did, the contract would stop. If there's any correction needs to be made, please share that, and for the rest of the council too.
No corrections, and Mr. Hallett's here to add anything that I may miss, but Green Latinos is the, for lack of a better word, the program manager of the funds that come from the federal government. Our contract is with Arbor Pro. So Arbor Pro will do the work. We'll submit reimbursement requests through Green Latinos, who will get funding back through the feds. And so just like with a lot of grants where it's a reimbursement style where you don't get the money up front, the grantor could stop the payment. I mean, it has nothing, it could have nothing to do with the federal government and the person in the White House. It could just be the lack of funding that may or may not be there. It may be overprescribed. There could be all kinds of reasons why grantors pull money back. But we are moving forward with this project. Our contracts have clauses in them that allow us to stop the contract and pay only for services rendered. We wouldn't be on the hook for anything that hasn't been rendered. And so, yeah, there's certainly that potential for that to be, those funds to go away, but we want to move forward on this project. It's a very important project for us to identify the trees that we have in the city and then move forward with that. So
I agree, it's an important project, and thank you very much for the input. Mr. Howell has something other than that. That's all my question, and I hope the council got something out of that. Thank you.
So I have some questions as well. So just so I'm clear, it appears to me at least that Green Latinos it's an intermediary here, right? The grant is actually to them, and then I guess there's a subaward to us, and then we're contracting out with this other firm in order to fulfill what we're trying to accomplish. So I don't see it mentioned in the agreement, but I'd like to know, will the mapping of the trees that's proposed here, will that be incorporated into our geographic information system or GIS?
I'll have Mr. Hallett answer that detail.
Great.
Honorable Mayor and council members, Steve Hallett, Assistant Public Works Director. So to answer Councilmember Starr's question, yes, the GIS is a component that can be used. GIS is just for the mapping and locating, which for the tree inventory is essential. But for the LiDAR analysis and for the level 2 assessment of every individual tree, that's actually going to be part of the Arbor Pro software, which is one of the industry leaders for arbor care. So with this agreement, we also get usage of the Arbor Pro software, that this information will be available there as well.
Okay. And I did notice that the contract we're doing right now is for $363K. I understand the grant is for about $985K. So I assume that all these extra dollars will be spent on eventually tree removals or new plantings of trees as well. At least that's what I'm reading. Is that right?
Council members, this is correct. The first stage is just for us to take a complete inventory and then do an assessment of the existing trees, understand what we have and what we're managing. And then there's an analysis of each tree and identifying the hazardous tree removals. Now, here in the city of Oxnard, for the past 5 years, we've done 2 assessments of the eucalyptus trees only. We've done assessments of other trees, but we make it a priority for the eucalyptus trees, especially that are along our major thoroughfares. We want to make sure that these trees are safe and stable. So a part of this inventory is they will be not only doing the inventory and assessment of all trees, but specifically we're going to be looking at the eucalyptus trees, which then at that point we're going to identify any hazards that need to be removed, and then we will move into hazard mitigation so we can make sure that our urban forest is safe. So we want to maintain what we have, we want to make sure it's safe, and then we will move into, depending on the available funds, putting together a plan and replanting trees that come through the analysis. This is where the LiDAR analysis is going to come into play, because it's going to look at areas of the city where there's opportunities to provide more shade and cooling, especially in the disadvantaged communities. And those will be our targets of where we want to plant trees.
All right. So when I was looking at, I think it was page 289 of the staff report, I think it made us aware that there's at least 325 dead and dying trees that need to be removed. I think we were expecting with this grant that we'll be spending about $1,670 per tree, or roughly $540,000 to remove them. It's been a while since that grant's happened. Do you expect that that price is going to be what it will be when we eventually get to putting this out for that work?
Yeah, so like with all of our other contracts, we will probably just take this list of trees that need to be removed and put it out and bid it separately instead of going against our on-call agreements, because we want to make sure that we continue doing our regular routine maintenance. We don't want to expend our on-call services for this specific thing. We can, but then we'll have to be bidding out that project really quickly as well. So it would be best if we competitively bid that and take those at the same time.
Okay. And there seems to be some contention in the report as to the number of trees managed by the city. So I see mentioned on pages 216 and 252 that there's 49,000 trees, but on page 249, there are approximately 56,000. I'm wondering if maybe if one of those is a misprint, or we're just simply really just uncertain as to the correct number at this time.
You are correct, Councilmember Starr. There's just an uncertainty, and that's the importance of this tree inventory. One of the main things I can put out there for an example is the golf course. The golf course has thousands of trees. We don't know how many. It's not in our tree inventory. So that's one area alone that we're going to do a complete tree inventory. And also, there's a lot of eucalyptus trees at that location as well. So this is where the numbers can move.
Right. And if I were to use the lower number of 49,000, let's say, right now that's going to be examined at a cost of about $363K. If for some reason it winds up being more trees, 56,000, 60,000, will this fee be fixed or will it go up as a result?
The rate is the rate. So what they
Great.
bid on is however many trees come up in the count is how many trees are going to be covered by this rate. So it's not going to inflate if the trees go up by another 10,000.
Mayor, I'd like to point out to all of us here that that works out to be less than $8 per tree. And I just can't imagine anybody doing it for that price. I mean, I know I wouldn't. So it seems like you've done a really good job of getting this priced well for the public, because to me, $8 to examine each tree seems like a steal to me.
Yeah, council members, we did have 4 bidders. All 4 bidders qualified, and so we reviewed them extensively, and Arbor Pro was the most qualified and responsive bidder.
Okay. And that is the extent of my questions, Mr. Mayor.
Well, Mr. Halleck certainly knows how I feel about it. I'm so enthusiastic for the long-term outcome, and that is to continue to beautify our city with the ecological and health benefits and economic benefits, and just the quality of life for everyone here in this city. So I was very supportive of it. If there's no further comments, oh, there is. I'm sorry. Mr. Huerta, you wanted to speak on it. Go ahead.
I've noticed San Fernando Valley was doing the same project on this. So are you guys concentrating on the shading work? I mean, obviously on the sunsets, what kind of trees we're going to plant, how much shade it's going to provide. I mean, those are all important elements, because our city right now, I mean, obviously a lot of trees have been down, you know, global warming, global crisis, high winds, something to really concentrate on. You know, I know a lot of our elders need parks with shade trees. You know, if you go down to many parks, a lot of our trees are just really small trees. So yeah, that was my question. And then obviously tree maintenance as well. We're what, 4 years behind, I believe, or what, 4 or 5 years behind on tree maintenance currently, I think, right? No, or is that after, huh? We're current now. Well, congratulations, City of Oxnard. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Mr. Huerta.
Thank you.
Did you make a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to move the recommended action.
I'll second.
Okay. Madam Clerk, call for the vote.
Mayor MacArthur,
Yes.
Councilmember Perallo,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rodriguez.
Aye.
Councilmember Starr,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Teran,
Yes.
Councilwoman Basua. Yes. And this motion carries 6-0. Thank you.
Yes, go ahead, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. Just a quick thing for the city attorney. I see that we had a technical item with the Zoom. Just want to make sure for the record, so it's stated on the record, because I know it's still recording and broadcasting on YouTube, I'm assuming. The meeting in person, because we're still here, people can still attend in person if they'd like, and the clerk's taking the minutes. We're still good to continue the meeting. We don't have to wait for the Zoom to come back up. Is that correct?
Not been informed of what the status is on this?
Mayor and council members, this just happened a few seconds ago, and Diego's working on it.
Okay.
Okay. Just want to make sure we're good to continue the meeting, though, even though the Zoom that's published on the agenda isn't currently accessible to folks who are trying to log on. If
Why
they
don't we
are.
take a short recess?
Yeah.
Just
Is that the
to
recommendation?
See what's going on with the
Sounds
background.
good. Okay.
Thank you.
We'll take a short recess. We'll reconvene when the Zoom is back up. Thank you.
And Mayor, for anybody watching us virtually, and if they want to make any comments, the meeting ID number is still the same and the passcode is still the same. So just for the record.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for bearing with us while we underwent some technical issues with our Zoom, but we're back online. And we left off where Number 8. And Mr. Starr, we'll start with you. This involves the Public Works Department. The subject, IT software agreement with Paradigm Software for software for scale house operations for the Environmental Resources Division. The recommended actions that the City Council approve and authorize the mayor to execute IT software agreement with Paradigm for a total amount not to exceed $504,325.98 for a term of 5 years ending September 30, 2030. And this originated back in July 22nd, 2025, in the Public Works and Transportation Committee, approved 3-0. Go ahead, Mr. Starr.
Thank you. So I noticed that often with software projects, at least those that my company has dealt with, many times we're required to pay a lot for the cost of training on how to use the software effectively, and it can add up to some significant numbers. I did notice that on page 510, that milestone number 15 already includes remote training of key personnel, and I'm just wondering, do we anticipate needing any additional funds for training down the road, or is this going to be sufficient? I don't know the complexity of this software and how difficult it is to learn it.
We don't anticipate any additional training needs for this. It actually is the same software company that we currently use right now.
And my next question, I read through the agreement, and there was just one portion that kind of gave me pause, and that was on page 491, where it says, at its sole discretion, Paradigm may increase its license fee and its charges for support and services by giving client at least 90 days notice prior to the effective term. And my concern about that is, I know that once you're into any sort of software, you're really locked in. It's hard to move to a different software package. So I'm just wondering, I know with our company, what we do to protect ourselves is we put caps in on what the maximum fees could be for any given year, and I don't see that here. So how do we protect ourselves against an unreasonable price increase by Paradigm if they were to decide, hey, you know what, we're going to start charging you double? I mean, other than their market reputation, what else do we have going for us here?
Can you give me the specific section?
Sure. So hold on.
Terms and conditions, charges, fees, and payment on page 491 or page 3 out of 37?
Yep.
On the top?
Yes. Yeah, so at the...
That would have been a good one to send to Public Works.
I think it should be heard.
I want to hear it, but that would have been a good one to send it, so we don't have the poor man standing there like, he doesn't know what you're talking about.
That's okay. So, I mean, these contracts are long, I'm happy to point out, but yeah, basically at the end of the third line there, starting at its sole discretion, Paradigm may increase its license fee and its charges for support and services by giving client at least 90 days notice prior to the effective term. And I'm just wondering, what do we do to protect ourselves from price increases that are exorbitant? I don't know who put together the agreement.
Yep. I don't have an answer to that question.
Okay. All right. That's fair. Okay. How difficult would it be to go back to the vendor and negotiate this small piece of it? I assume they want our business, and that's a lot of money over 5 years. It seems to me we could limit them to 5% increases per year. Is that an unreasonable request, or?
We're going to be affected.
Right.
Go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor, Council members. Brian Yan is Assistant Public Works Director. We don't anticipate any increases. It's going to be effect here in October. So we're already into that 90 days, and we've been working very diligently with this company as they are our current software provider. And so through this process, we did have total of 4 bids, and through the evaluation and
sure.
What the company brings and matching what our current functions are, our day-to-day operations,
Right.
They were just the company that we needed to go with that met all the requirements.
Absolutely. And I don't question that. I believe that. For the first year, of course, the price is locked in. I'm worried about year 2. So year two is going to come up in about 9 months, or rather the 90-day window will come up within around 9 months after this agreement starts. And at that point, they're going to tell us, they could tell us, well, you're going to pay 25% more. We'd probably say, we'd eat that because we don't want the burden of switching to another software package. So I'm just saying that what we do at my company, and I recently went through this negotiation regarding some tax compliance software because I knew that if I didn't lock this in, that we were going to get, the short end of the stick here. So I don't think it's too late to go back and just get that one piece locked down so that we can protect the city against an exorbitant increase.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we're reading it correctly because it says prior to the term. So I just need to read through this just for a second. Again, it would have been helpful to have this question earlier, so I would have had all this information.
That's okay.
Because if the term is defined by the 5 years, then as Brian said, it's not an issue. But if the term is defined by each individual year,
that's my
then
concern.
it's an issue. So if you just give me a second, I can try to find the definition of the word term in here, and then we can give you the answer to that question.
Yeah, I'll do that. There's probably many instances of term though. It says the annual fee is payable annually in advance prior to the first day of the renewal term. So it just seems like in the very sentence just prior to the sentence in question.
Sure. Yeah, that's what I read. It says 5 years, for a period of 5 years. The term of the license and software is governed by Addendum A. So I was trying to find Addendum A.
Okay, so while they look into that, maybe I have a question for my colleague, and I apologize for not addressing the chair. But what would be the recommended, if you wanted to have a cap, I understand that it says that it's sole discretion, right? They can increase, they could set their price. Are you asking for like a no more than 10% increase? Are you, what would be your recommendation to lock it in? If you want to make it,
I'd be comfortable with 5% per year.
okay, or not making it at their sole discretion or at a negotiated conversation?
Well, the problem is with the negotiation, you're already locked in. So if you can get 5%. So,
I think we have an answer.
but you're correct. The question is, what is the term?
Yeah, the definition of a term.
Term mean in this context? Because in one place, it seems to suggest that a renewal term, renewal year.
Okay, they're ready.
Another, go ahead.
It sounds like they've got the.
Page 500 of the agenda package, it defines the term of renewal, and it's 5 years. So I would go back to Brian's answer that we are covered, that this is not an issue.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yanis.
Thank you for answering it here on the spot. Thank you. Any other questions?
I guess my request to you is that when we get 4 years into this, start the negotiation then, so that you're not at like the very end of the term and they've got you, because they will get you.
That's fair. That's fair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Santos. Good observation.
I think that's a great observation. My request to my colleague would be to ask that question and then bring it up so we can all learn as well. So I think that was great.
Great. All right, I'm happy to, unless other people have questions, I'd be happy to move the recommended action at this point.
I'll second.
Wonderful.
Unless Perella has questions, I see his microphone's on.
There are no further questions. Councilmember Perella, do you have anything to add?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Maybe a little bit off. Mr. Starr, you're a member of the council. If you have any expertise in how you could assist this staff in determining what they should ask for, I would hope that you would feel comfortable to share, unless it's proprietary information for the company you work for.
I'm very comfortable.
Okay, because it seemed like you and Councilmember Rodriguez were discussing 10%, 5%, what was going on, so what are we doing? I don't know if Mr. Rodriguez is going to.
So I think the answer to the question we got was that the term is actually defined as a 5-year period. My only suggestion, it sounds like the suggestion's well taken, is that when we get 4 years into this 5-year term, that we start the negotiations then for any renewal period so that if they try to jack up the price, it's easier for us to move.
And I really appreciate that, and I will do better myself to make sure that I give staff the opportunity to come to the podium prepared for any questions that I
Right.
may have.
And by the way, I'm not offended that, if staff doesn't have an answer just like that. Sometimes you ask questions or you don't know you're going to ask them until you get to the meeting.
Well, it just seemed the personalities here, I'm not a saint. A lot of people can tell you that. But the personalities, you knew what to go to what page to what page to what page. You'd put some time and thought with your staff, whoever helped you, and it would have been nice to help our staff. That's all. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Thanks again for those observations there, Councilmember Starr. We have a first and a second. Madam Clerk, call for the vote on item 8.
Sorry. Councilmember Perallo?
Yes.
Councilwoman Rodriguez?
Aye.
Councilmember Starr?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Teran?
Yes.
Councilwoman Basua? Yes. Mayor MacArthur?
Yes.
And this motion carries 6-0. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move to the next item on the agenda. This is item I-1 from Public Works. Subject agreement with AECom for engineering services during construction. Recommendations that the City Council approve and authorize, one, the mayor to execute an agreement with AECom Technical Services for a term of 1 year and 4 months from September 3rd, 2025 to December 31st, 2026 for a total amount not to exceed $835,335 for engineering services during construction for the wastewater reliability improvement project. And 2, a budget appropriation of $835,335 from the available fund balance in the wastewater operating fund and the corresponding appropriation and revenue transfer in the wastewater capital fund. This item did not originate in committee, as this is a capital improvement project specifically listed in the city's capital improvement program budget, which was previously approved by the City Council. And Director Mike Wolf is here to answer questions. And is there any questions? Go ahead, Councilmember Starr.
So I'm looking at page 527 on the second paragraph. And I'm just kind of wanting some elaboration here. So it says that the original task order did not account for unforeseen field conditions that now require additional complex design considerations, including underground utilities around the new electrical building and basin isolation at the wastewater treatment plant headworks. And I was just wondering if maybe you can just kind of give us some more insight on what these unforeseen field conditions are and how we discovered them.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Council Members, Michael Wolf, Director of Public Works. I'll have our Assistant Public Works Director, Tim Beeman, go into detail on those.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council, Tim Beeman, Assistant Director of Public Works. So those specific items were, we did a significant amount of potholing through the design phase. And so what we do is we look at as-built drawings, we identify a pipe, and we actually make a small hole and identify where that pipe is. And that's great when something's on the drawings, but unfortunately when you're dealing with a plant starting back from the 50s, particularly in that area, there is a lot of pipe work that we just didn't know was there. It wasn't documented. And so we start digging and all of a sudden it's, well, this is where our pipe is designed to go and we can't put it there because this part of the process is within it. I can say that that particular area around the plant, if you happen to drive by and you look out, it's still unpaved because there had to be a significant amount of redesign. That's also where the outfall comes out. It's where our primary effluent goes through. So these are not, a small 6-inch or 8-inch pipe that we have. In these cases, they're, several feet in diameter. So it makes it very difficult to get around them. And so once you're in construction, time is money, and the contractor's saying, what do we do? What do we do? And that's where you bring in these, your design engineer to the engineer of record to help solve those problems. Now with headworks in particular, we can't send someone down into the actual tanks of the headwork system because it's full of water. And so through the construction process, they isolated those tanks, drained them down, and were able to do an actual inspection. And that's where we're able to see that some of the corrosion through columns and other parts of the concrete that we just couldn't see from up above. And so, and in that particular case, we have extra safety equipment that goes in, everyone's in a harness, people go down into the tanks, there's a lot of measures that go into place, and then that design then has to be done. It's just, there are things that we plan as best we can, but these are just unforeseen items that we have.
Any other questions? Not, go ahead, Councilmember.
With respect to finding the amount of deterioration when they went down in the tanks, does this fall under what had happened in the past with extreme deferred maintenance, or is this totally unexpected? Or was there going to be a period of time when you would have drained the tanks to go down and look in there, but this just happened sooner than required?
So with the headworks in particular, it's highly turbulent flow, and that releases the H2S.
And it's sewer water, correct? Not just
sewer
water,
yes.
right?
And so that releases the H2S that causes corrosion with concrete. And isolating them is a very, very big job. So we were able to see some things from the surface, but it's something that we just didn't see until the water level was down.
Thank you. And just for the council, you'll recall that in the Colonia neighborhood, they did potholing. It's a common practice in construction, but because, as he mentioned, as Mr. Beeman mentioned, the age and the plans and somebody didn't put the mark on the right place at the time, and more than likely they're dead and buried, we can't go back and say we hold them accountable. You deal with what's in place right now, and there's costs involved. And I'm grateful that they're looking at it, because I think you said 7-foot diameter pipeline?
I said several feet.
Several foot diameter pipeline. I don't want to have that break and then have to deal with whatever the ramifications will be with that, let alone the liquid, let alone the fines from the going into the ocean, et cetera, et cetera. Thank you for the work you're doing.
Thank you very much for that. There are no more comments. Madam Clerk, are there any speakers for this item?
Mayor and council members, we do not have any public speakers in person or virtually for this item. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, in that case, I'd like to move the recommended action.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Madam Clerk, call for the vote.
Councilmember Starr,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Teran,
Yes.
Councilwoman Basua, Mayor MacArthur,
Yes.
Councilmember Perallo, Councilwoman Rodriguez.
Aye.
And this motion carries 6-0. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now move to item I2 from Public Works. Construction contract increase for agreement with At Your Service Construction and Energy, Inc. for restroom improvement project, College Estates Park. The recommendation is that the City Council approve and authorize additional project contingency funds in the amount of $10,000 to agreement 325-00358 with At Your Service Construction and Energy, Inc. for a new not-to-exceed contract value of $429,980 for the restroom improvement project at College Estates Park. This item did not originate in committee, as this is a capital improvement project specifically listed in the city's capital improvement program budget, which was previously approved by City Council. Do any council members have any questions of staff on this item? Go ahead, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you for the information on this. I actually have a former District 2 resident who now lives in District 5 and has kept me updated on the improvements happening at this park for some time now. And when it came to the restroom, just kind of the prolonged process with this. So I was happy to see this information come forward and an explanation of what our next steps are here. But I'm wondering if, just for the record, we can talk a little bit about a very brief history of the restroom facility at that park, and then the XLU is now the replacement, but why this item's in front of us here for this change order.
Yeah, good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, council members, Michael Wolf, Director of Public Works. I'm not sure that the three of us standing up here have a lot of history of that restroom. I know that Councilwoman Basua does. I know that it was, I believe it was a fire, if I recall correctly.
There was two fires.
Two fires.
Both by homeless individuals.
Yeah, so it had not been usable for some time. And the XLU had been a city council item taken before I became a city staff member. It had been come to council as a the baseline, if you will, for restrooms in parks, and the city had purchased Exelu's, 5 of them. Does that sound right, everybody? 5 Exelu's, and this will be the 3rd one that will be installed. And so, purchase of the Exelu, but there's obviously, that's not the only thing. You just can't plop them in place. You have to do civil work. You have to do, utility work and civil work and ADA improvements and the such, and sidewalks and things like that. And so it's taken some time to design the civil work, let out the contract, and then now we're in the final stages of constructing this this project, which is a pre-purchased Exelu the city purchased and installation through this contract. So I hope that's enough background that I think the 3 of us have up here.
Yeah, and just a little bit about the change order we have here.
So the change orders are twofold. So we had a sewer line or sewer lateral that fed the old restroom, and when those things don't get used for very long or for a long time, you can see a collapse in that, whether that's from not being used or whether that's just from soil erosion or things like that. But the sewer line collapsed, and that was found after the original building was removed and the slab was removed. And Taylor, who's our project manager, was out there with the contractor, and they found that sewer lateral needed to get replaced. And so that's one of the major items that is being addressed with this. And the second one is Edison requested that the point of connection for the power be put into a different place than what was originally designed. So those are the 2 things that are driving this request. There were some other minor change orders, but those are the 2 big items.
Okay, thank you very much.
I'm just personally really excited, having spent a considerable amount of time at that park, coaching, hosting birthday parties there, and it was the site of my daughter's field trip to that park. So it's exciting to finally see a bathroom being installed there. Yes, Councilmember.
So I guess the reason why we're here today looking at this is because the original contract we approved with a 10% contingency, these contract change orders exceed the contingency amount, so that's why you're coming back to us for a decision. I definitely understand the increase necessitated by the sewer line increase. Help me get a better understanding of the increase caused by Southern California Edison. Why was the current location for the meter unacceptable to them? And that's my first question. And my second question is this something we couldn't have known at the beginning of the project?
I'll have the project manager talk about that.
Good evening, City Council. Taylor Gambino, Senior Civil Engineer. So there were a couple factors that played into this. One of them is that in the original design, who we hired consultants to do, the electrical panel was located inside the middle of the restroom structure, similar to how the original restroom was. Then we heard from SCE during construction that they would not allow that location, and so we had to request that be relocated outside of the restroom into a podium.
But is this something that we could have known at the beginning of the project? I mean, typically with the folks you're working with, would they be, I'm sure they're experienced with Southern California Edison and what their requirements are. Did you have a conversation with them about?
Absolutely. So
what happened?
In talking to the electrical engineer of record, in past projects, SCE has been more than willing to allow the location in similar restroom type structures or park restrooms, but he has said that SCE has recently changed and kind of moved the goalpost in recent years as their planning department changes.
Okay. So I guess my follow-up question would be, so we have other bathroom projects coming up. So I think we've got the Del Sol Park restroom and we've got the Seaview Park restroom. Will there will this likely be an issue with those as well?
We know the problem now, and so that shouldn't arise as an issue. Del Sol Park doesn't need its own electrical meter. It will feed off the existing electrical meter, and Seaview will be accounted for.
Thank you.
Thank you for that clarification. Thank you. Any other questions? If not, Madam Clerk, oh, I'm sorry, Councilman Porter, go ahead. Yeah, I was just going to ask if there are any speakers on this item.
Mayor and council members, we do not have any public speakers in person or virtually for this item. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate the opportunity. We have 3 engineers in front of us. That's impressive. The question that I have on page 575, basically the first paragraph, pending. It says that the location inside the utility room was chosen and recommended to mitigate any potential vandalism. Now, we've had these big signs as you go into the southeast part of Oxnard, huge signs, and within a couple of days, people ripped off the copper wire. And we've had vandalism in other sites. Is there any, and I know that you're not putting us out there to hang us to dry, but is there any idea that you have to armor these things so that none of these things can be vandalized with respect to theft? Because the other part with theft, one of these times we're gonna find somebody electrocuted doing something that they shouldn't have been doing. Even in my neighborhood, we have guys peeling the power plates off the light poles, trying to get at the wire. One of them is gonna get lit up one day, and the city has tried to take care of that the best they can. My question is there anything that we can do to hard armor them better than what has been done?
It's a very heavy steel, like stainless steel box that it has locks and everything. There are some at other park locations, and they seem to be in good working order without any vandalism, other than maybe painting.
Okay, thank you. That's answered my question.
I will say that I've not seen anything completely vandal-proof, though, so they are very, very good at finding ways to do things, unfortunately.
I know that in some areas of our city, specifically the SCR3 levee, there were sound materials there, and apparently they were stolen. The county has informed me that they were stolen because they weren't apparently monitored by the lights and security and everything. It had nothing to do with the city of Oxnard. But there's a will, there's a way, and the population we have here, good people, working class citizens, there's always somebody trying to make a little buck that they shouldn't at the expense of the city.
Yeah.
And so in the past specifically, and excuse me, Mr. Wolf, in the past specifically, the one that comes to mind, it took an act of God to convince Supervisor Kelly Long to get the solar panels and the cameras on Olds Road higher than somebody could drive with a pickup truck and a short step ladder and steal them. But they eventually got the message after they were stolen a few times. So appreciate that. Thank you.
As Taylor mentioned, the prior electrical connection was actually inside the building, and that has a lot more protection than it being outside the building. And as Taylor mentioned, Edison tends to change some of their requirements, and a lot of that has to do with the safety of their employees, as well as they have to either go inside those connection boxes. They don't want to have certain types of barriers around those connections, and so they have transitioned away from underground vaults and away from those connections being inside buildings. And so, we're kind of stuck in between a couple of places here where we have a regulatory agency that we have to get power from, mandating about where those locations have to be. And so we're kind of stuck in this place where there's only certain places where we can put this stuff.
I appreciate all 3 of you, the work you're doing for the city. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem, go ahead.
Thank you. And just quickly, as it pertains to Councilmember Perillo's points here, I know Mr. Wolf and I have had a number of conversations about the potential theft of infrastructure within the city and also from private industry as it pertains to copper. And I believe, I haven't checked on it recently, but there was state legislation being proposed to really heighten the penalties for not just those committing these acts, but more so those on the receiving end who will take copper wire or other pieces of infrastructure that contain large amounts of copper and take them and recycle them, no questions asked, don't take IDs. Really heightening the penalties to those who receive them, the recyclers on that, and really trying to mitigate the demand or the market that would receive that from folks who are willing to go out and risk themselves, their own health and safety and their, their freedom to get these things and sell them to recyclers. So that's something that's happening parallel to these conversations as well.
Yeah, you've seen that change in the catalytic converter.
Yes.
That has been a big change in that industry when they made that change.
Yes. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Okay,
Mayor, I move the recommended action.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Madam Clerk, call for the vote.
Mayor Pro Tem Teran,
Yes.
Councilwoman Basua, Mayor MacArthur,
Yes.
Councilmember Perallo. Yes. Councilwoman Rodriguez.
Aye.
Councilmember Starr.
Yes.
And this motion carries 6-0. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. There being no further business on the agenda, and without objection, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
We don't need a motion to extend our time past